Feel my heart, it's beat tight. Oh, my body's breathing, it's just you and me. Feel my heart, it's beat tight. Oh, my body's breathing, it's just you and me. I'm so caught in this, we're so lost deep in it, can't stop. I'm forever the one you call. Let's free fall. I'm so caught in this, we're so lost deep in it, can't stop. I'm forever the one you call. Let's free fall.
All right, everyone, good afternoon and welcome back to CGL, where we have the NAPC Open Tier Lower Finals right now. It's Red Team dropping down from the Winners Final, where Nexus was able to beat them 3-1, taking on Valentine here this afternoon. My name is Dextron. That is Spectrion. Spec, man, how are you doing?
I mean, I'm going to be entirely honest with you. I've spent my day getting absolutely riddled with paintballs, so I'm kind of black and blue, red all over. Hopefully, these two teams aren't so bruised. That being said, I do know for a fact that Red Team, I believe after they lost the North American PC Open tier grand finals, have been 1-8 in maps played to lost. So they might also be a little bit bruised and spiraling too. We'll see if they can establish control, correct that death spiral, and see if they can find their way into a second grand final.
Yeah, no, just to correct you on that, they were in the console grand finals where they lost to Short Bus in a 4-0 sweep, lost 3-1 to Nexus in the winners final here. So 1 of 7 in their last 8 maps, looking to bounce back though against a team they've already swept once in these playoffs in Valentine in the upper semifinals. You see right there. And ever since Valentine lost to Red Team in that upper semifinals, they have gone 6 of 6 in maps here. So riding a really, really hot streak up against a team right now in Red Team that Spectrion we talked about already. They're struggling.
That's true. So, I mean, as well, I think some of the scalps that they've been through, pretty impressive. Shikigami often can be very, very competitive as well. So they have obviously had some struggles, that's true, but Valentine might be a team on the up and up. Red Team maybe on a bit of a downwards trajectory. We'll see if these kind of intersect. If we do see the lower bracket team, or both teams obviously in the lower bracket now, but Valentine has made the run, can actually get the upset against Red Team, who are coming from the winners bracket. We've got some rosters for you here, folks. So we can take a gander at the players we'll have in the lobby. Here it is from Red Team. Walla Easy, Zimori, Rosa, Jacko, and the Mighty Break going to be in the lobby first.
This is a very different looking lineup right now for Red Team. If you've been watching them in the past couple days, Walleyes and Mori. Walleyes is one you really haven't seen a lot of. Mighty Brig as well, not one you necessarily seen a lot of. Actually, I think Mighty Brig might be Goldia here. So you have seen a lot of Goldia in the past couple days, but Walleyes is a new one. Normally, though, in this DPS lineup, you are seeing Leo and Hey, I'm Zero, but Zero's not here, and I think Leo is starting off on the bench here for this lower... Oh, Leo is Walleyes, yeah. Okay, I'm messing up today, but I mean, a very, very good team in Red Team. I've been talking about them. I think they're going to be able to bounce back here, but their opponents in Valentine do have something to say about that. And Spectrum, I mean, Valentine is a good team, a really, really good team, a former contenders team, a OWCS team, and now playing in Face It League. They are one of the best teams there as well. Used to be known as Michael Wave, rebranded to Valentine. And look at this lineup. Ramosu, Snozzler on that DPS line, Mari on the tank, and then Wicca and AJMR. This is a very, very solid team.
I mean, I had the chance to cast Michael Wave back, not the last Kunoichi event, but the one before, absolutely yonks ago, and they have always impressed me with their ability just to show up and absolutely wreck in the lobby. So see if they can do that here again. I mean, I think if they do end up playing a more high damage backline, that could be super interesting to see. Of course, something we haven't actually had a chance to speak about yet, of course, patch. Yesterday, huge shakeups. Tanks have been giga-buffed. So headshots now do 25% less damage to tanks. You get now back up to 50% knockback reduction. I mean, it's really hard to fail right now as a tank. You've got so much power to actually put your tendrils into the game. Of course, with the armor changes as well, a lot of the hard tank counters have been significantly nerfed. Your Reapers, your Bastions of the world, and we have our map where we're going to be starting. Do you think this is going to affect the tank choices at all, Dex, or do you think we've got a defined meta already?
No, not at all, especially heading into Nepal. Most control maps I really look at as something where you normally could see a lot of different types of compositions come out. And with that tank patch only being yesterday, and hell, only have had it a little bit more than 24 hours here, these teams, this is probably one of the first true times they're, going into an actual match outside of scrims with this year. So it's going to be really interesting. I mean, you talked about tanks got like Giga buff, like you said. Sigma is the one I've heard a lot about, but almost every other tank was buffed in some way, really making me hopeful that we could see a lot of different compositions be played here.
I mean, I have had the chance to scrim it once, and I'm still forming my opinions, but generally I'd say that Sigma and Winston are the best. I think that Winston having the armor changes helps him the most against his hard counters, and Tesla kind of going through armor, super useful as well. Not all teams love to play Winston. I think Winston's not really a North American tank pick as well, so we'll see if we see that in the... If it's not much Sigma or Winston, I'll find that very quickly. But it looks like we got a Reinhardt out of Valentine wanting to play this brawl close up. The advantage of the Reinhardt holding that shield means you can actually, negate a lot of that DPS passive. Ramatra, though, has a much stronger poke phase. So if I'm red team, I'm probably looking to just extend the poke phase as long as possible, use Goldia's speed to kite as long as possible. Ramsu, if they stick on to this Symmetra, will be able to negate that. But if they end up swapping to a Mei, a Tracer, what have you, then they're just going to poke the entire time, see if that works out for them.
And it does look like Zero is back in. Originally, though, it was supposed to be Mori that was supposed to be playing. But Zero got here in the nick of time for them, and now they will be back in. Zero is by far, in my opinion, one of the most impressive players on this red team side, especially on this Tracer. They are very, very scary. But Valentine, early on, getting the control of this high ground right here, neither team necessarily wanted to poke their heads too far out here, but it looks like the DPS for Valentine are off on their own at the moment, trying just to find an off angle, or at least Ramosu is point opening up, and it looks like Ramos is going to be the one trying to cap point here first.
Yeah, Railgun misses, but with point not cap, it's still a deadlock for both these teams, and with the Kiriko rather than the BAP, eventually Valentine will lose this out, so they have to wait, they have to take an angle, and we see Red Team now winning the space.
And Red Team starting to cap the point here as well. You still see that fight for space on that high ground. Now the Tracer once again in there as well, is noticing Mori is very low on health, but getting supported by those two supports right there. Still, no one has fallen just yet. And Spectrion, this is getting to what I would say probably the longest I've ever seen a fight go on without someone dying. But hey, Wicca opens it up, and that will just lead to dominoing for Red Team falling.
You clearly haven't cast much Colosseum, is all I'm going to say about that. But, I mean, that fight went way long. I would have expected Red Team to win out a fight like that, just constantly taking this frontline trade. But eventually, Valentine's able to get their leg up. And the important thing here, they have ult tempo. Both support ults are a significant lead, especially on the beat from Goldia for Valentine. So if they can leverage that in these next couple fights, Red Team don't have many options.
Yeah, and that beat has to be very important here, especially with Rosa having that Annihilation ready and Jacko just getting that Amp Matrix ready. It's going to be really interesting to see when they decide to use that. I mean, you think it will go for that Annihilation with Consumer Rush coming out here from AJ, MR, and Valentine wants to play fast and aggressive. They're going to be able to find Rosa again first, and the rest will all fall by the wayside here. Jacko going to be joining them in the spawn, but looks like everyone else for Red Team is going to be able to escape.
One of the fight for Valentine, exactly what you want to see. Using the Kiriko Valley to perfection and late kill onto 0-2 to simply rub the boot in the face of Red Team. Ults are now online for the Red Team. They do have a small lead with that ultimate now cast off, but 50% already accrued, and Valentine still have some tools left to throw.
Yeah, absolutely, and I give Valentine a lot of credit for only winning that one last fight with one ultimate. Now one ultimate starts this fight again, and it's looking like it's going to be yet another team fight win here for Valentine. Red Team, though, Rosa just trying to do whatever they can, investing that Annihilation, not going to be able to do anything with it. Zero will find one, but Valentine still in control.
Yeah, really not a fan of that Annihilation. You're down your Baptiste, I believe. You're just not going to survive for long enough, especially with the new DPS passive. Your Lucio doesn't have the sustain, especially if Goldia is not going to invest the beat. So, last fight territory here. Valentine have won out these fights extremely economically, and they're still in a great spot for this final engagement. The overclock angles on the point are going to be deadly.
Yeah, I was wondering when that Ambush was going to come out there from Jacko. It's going to force everyone for Valentine to play behind corners, but Wicca going to invest the beat, and that's the go sign there for Valentine. Here comes the overclock for Leo, just trying to get anything they can, but everyone for Valentine just dodging around corners. Snozler's going to respond with one of their own. Ramosu will find the first pick here. The beat from Goldia needs to be what wins Red Team this team fight, but the annihilation from Mari on point might just seal the deal. Goldia trying their best just to push away that Ramatra, not going to be able to. Jacko will find AJMR, but eventually Valentine looking like they should be able just to keep control of this point. Leo going to slide there onto the point right there, keep it alive. Pulse Bomb will be able to find one. Kills getting traded out. It's a duel here for the Tracers. If Ramos is going to be able to win, they would win this point, but they fall there at 0, keeping this map alive here for Red Team.
They win Symmetra to touch fast. I barely ever see that, actually. That's really a cool strategy, and it ends up working out for the Red Team. Or for Valentine, sorry. I mean, I'm actually super impressed by what Valentine played there. I think the first slip-up from Red Team was using that window just to force Mari back behind cover. And while it does succeed in that, it's not very useful for buying them control of the sightlines around the point, for buying them space around the point. And so after Mari kites it, as soon as it expires, it's super easy for Valentine to retake that space. Red Team, maybe with a little bit more of an aggro window, would have found more success there, but it does come super close, right? Comes down to a deathmatch on the point. Ham Zero even wins out the 1v1 against Ramsu, but the respawn's just there a little bit faster. Valentine 100-0 there on our first point of Nepal here on Village. They look to replicate that same feat. Comps now mirrored. No more Baptiste for Red Team. I do think this is a little bit stronger.
Yeah, and you immediately see Red Team just get through that choke point right there, not wanting to get any of them stuck in there. And again, it's going to be Red Team just trying to take this high ground, eventually rotating back towards the point. You're trying to hold that high ground there. Already the Suzu being invested there by AJMR, but Mari going to be able to find the first pick on the Goldia. And now, again, like last point all over against Spectrion, one falls for Red Team, and the rest will soon follow.
I mean, considering Valentine started off in this comp, Red Team just swapped to it now, one would assume that Valentine would have a little bit more confidence or practice on it, and that is for good reason. The DPS are able to find frags time and time again, and this time playing a lot heavier for Mari. They're able to get halfway to an annihilation already. Joe control going to be brutal here. Red Team don't really have the tools to break it, so instead it's going to have to be slow, playing angles, and maybe even just walking low grounds.
And it looks like that's what they're going to try to do here. Red Team, though, they desperately just need to try to find some opening, give them an advantage. I believe on that first point, Valentine found every first pick, but now Red Team just tries to go straight to point right here. Snozzer, though, going to get rid of Jacko, and now you lose Leo as well. Goldia staying alive here. Zero will be able to find Wicca, but Rosa looking worse for wear here, will eventually be taken out by their counterpart in Mari right there. And Spectrion, this is just another clean team fight win here for Valentine.
Valentine just have control of all the space in the world, and Red Team trying to deathball through low is not the way of breaking it. It just allows them to take so many advantageous 1v1s. Every team fight, I mean, Red Team are just around, and Valentine can kite as much as they need, and we're up to halfway past here. Valentine just building into our ults, Red Team so far away.
Yeah, and it's just because of how fast some of these people have died. Leo, I mean, nowhere close to what Snozler is. The pulse bomb, they're going to come out from Ramosu. Maybe Red Team will be able to find something off that Kitsune Rush coming out there from AJMR. The Suzu going to be able to keep him alive through Zero's pulse bomb. Ramosu will win that duel there, and it's going to be, again, just Red Team backing up here.
Yeah, I mean, they are still alive. They can still push, but there's still so many tools to push into it. Last fight territory here, a pick here would be catastrophic.
Annihilation coming out here from Rosa, going to be partnered with Jacko's Kitsune Rush. They do find Wicca to get everything going early here. No beat now available for Valentine. Leah will find Mari. Overclock from Snozler, just trying to do a hero play here, but not going to be able to find anything just yet. It'll be Rosa taking care of them, and Spectrion for the first time this map. Red Team takes control.
And the first really poor ult, I think, from Valentine. I've rated Snozler for a long time now, actually, but that ult from them was I'll put it that way. Overclock cast the wayside. Leo, a significant advantage upon Valentine, at least upon that factor. Still, this next engagement could be 50-50. We'll see if Valentine are able to attack any better than Red Team can.
I mean, Valentine does have this Annihilation ready to go. The only thing that Red Team really has is the beat to try to counter it out. But right now, I mean, you see Mari trying to deal with Rosa, just get rid of the tank and that would open up a lot of possibility for them. But so far, Rosa with help of Goldia doing a good job just pushing back Valentine.
And I do like this peek from Snozler because it somewhat hides the rotation down main for the rest of Valentine should they commit to it. So now they are able to buy the space for free. They have control of the high ground now. We'll see if they can do with it.
Overclock coming out here from Leo will be responded to with the beat here from Wicca. Now Goldia uses their beat in turn. Leo, though, getting very low. Mari will be able to take care of them. Pulse Bomb gonna find Goldia right there. The Annihilation will lead to 1 kill. Ramosu out of the fight, but it's 3-1 right now in favor of Valentine. Looking like they're gonna be able to retake the point here. Red team gonna try to quickly regroup.
Mari finds a double there. That was absolutely a DPS-centric fight. Ramsey was able to sandwich Red Team between themselves and the rest of Valentine. And of course, Snozar, with that peak I spoke about earlier, was able to bamboozle them. 99% all at some point. This should be a conversion, surely.
Good rush coming out here from AJMR, and just with being able to pummel so much faster, Mari takes care of Rosa almost immediately. Zero gonna be taken out by Ramosu, but hey, wait, Red Team still has a fighting chance in this. They do find Mari and Snozzer. Jacko, though, does fall, and no one able to get back in time to touch the point. Spectrion Valentine takes our first map of this lower final series in dominating fashion.
I mean, super strong shooting from Jacko in the end there, but unfortunately we didn't see that from him the rest of the game. Valentine looking super in control throughout that Nepal. I mean, on this Ramacha comp, I think it's one of Mari's best heroes and really seeing it here, but realistically, it's just like all of Valentine are just so comfortable right now. These are all heroes that they made their name on. It's all heroes that they're super dominant on them. When you get to play it all in a single composition like this, I mean, it's super, super terrifying for the rest of these teams. I think Red Team starts out on that map, realizes the DPS passive meant that healing just doesn't do all that much, and frontline trading doesn't, again, do a crazy amount if your opponents are winning out the angles. And as we move away from control, a lot of these other maps are going to be more angle-centric, more focused on the DPS just going and finding frags. And if we're going to see this kind of quiet performance, I'd say, from Leo and Hey I'm Zero, then I have to say, I'm a little bit worried for them. I'm not quite sure if they'll make it into their rematch in the grand finals.
I mean, this has been the thing. I casted the last 2 series for Red Team, and I've always been high on them. They are one of the best teams here in CGL, both on the console side and the PC side for a reason. They've had a couple off days, and I've been waiting for them to bounce back, but they just haven't been able to do it just yet. But Spectrion, the biggest thing that we kind of talked about heading into that first map was the fact that we had that big patch yesterday, and we were talking about seeing multiple different tanks, but it seems like we're going to be treated to a lot of Ramacha throughout this series here this afternoon. Yeah, Ramacha wasn't touched, but they weren't necessarily buffed as much as I've heard some other tanks been talked about.
Yeah, I see the vision. Again, you have a super long poke phase, so you don't have to take as much damage as other heroes a lot of the time. If you want to extend that poke phase, and when it gets into close combat, then your overhealth coming through obviously isn't affected by DPS passive, so you have a decent amount of survivability. We've seen it as well. The last time that the DPS passive was 20%, we played a lot of Ram Lucio, just because you hold block, and even though you aren't doing all that much, you're also not dying like a lot of other options would. For example, like a Roadhog, like a Malga often would. So I see the vision. At least in my head, I'm still confident that Winston's going to be strong, and I'm curious to see if we see it any later on into the series, but these two teams very confident in their Ramacha. But as we head on to Hollywood, I mean, with that verticality, surely now we see some Monkey.
Yeah, I mean, Hollywood, the first 2 points I always talk about, it is something where you see a lot of dive, whether it be the Monkey or whether it be the Diva, which is something I think I saw Red Team play on Hollywood here in their series against Nexus. And it worked sometimes, but other times just didn't find the value. But right now, like you said, Winston is getting a lot of play time here just after this patch. So it would not surprise me to see the Monkey come back out here, especially because of how just favorable he plays into Hollywood.
Yeah, I think you've definitely got some options at least. I don't think the Ramacha is bad as such for first and thirds. Second point, it will be a bit of a struggle, though. Attacking high grounds as Ram is super, super tricky, just because your lack of options. You got the elevator or you've got forcing the point. And if you force point, you get crossfired. If you take the elevator, you kind of all grouped yourself in one singular area. So it's a kind of choosing between a rock and a hard place, sorry, if you ask me. We'll see if they elect to go for something else. I do think that your other dive tanks generally are going to be a little bit worse in the patch, why we haven't really discussed them that much. Diva's shotguns going to be doing a lot less damage. The same with Wrecking Ball's primary fire, even though he has had significant buffs in other parts of his kit, you know, the pile driver, the roll through the minefields. I don't think they're enough. And with Doomfist, I mean, he's still Doomfist, still kind of playable, still kind of losing out in value to Monkey, where Monkey would be played. So that is still going to be my prediction. This time, knock on wood, hope we see it. But Valentine on the defense, hopefully just looking to lock down and play some consistent Overwatch. It's what we saw from them before. Their defense looked ironclad on Nepal Village, especially. So now they get to do that again for only 4 minutes. Red team, curious to see how they elect to break it. Because so far, the regular picks of Sojourn Rail or finding a advantageous ult trade haven't really been working out for them.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll always bring it up when we see the Tracer duel here. Like, that is such an important battle just on its own. Having that one go whichever way it goes, if it goes Valentine's way, if it goes Red Team's way, if your Tracer is able to prevail in that duel, you help your team out so much because you get rid of a huge backline pressure off how the other team, and then you have a much better opportunity to attack that backline with your own Tracer here. I think the DPS lines really do need to step it up here for both sides because, I mean, the tanks were doing okay in that first map, but they were, I mean, the DPS were kind of still lagging behind them. Yeah, they were able to find, you know, great openings, but I felt like we were always kind of seeing Mari find the opening pick there for Valentine in that first map.
Yeah, I think that something to pay attention to is watch how far Hey I'm Zero can get, essentially. If he's constantly just shooting frontline, then he's going to really struggle to find the same amount of value as if he can go a little bit deeper. For example, if he's able to either path through camera room, through behind the point and into cafe is a very common flank route. Your other option, probably through the alley around that first building. You can go super far left side there from an attacker standpoint. It allows you to reach the backline if they want to sit low ground. So if they're able to access either of those two flank routes, then Red Team are going to be in a super good spot to try and get a crunch onto Valentine. If they can't, though, again, it has to be a Sojourn Rail, and we just haven't seen that so far. We do have a bit of a look at what the comps are in Spawn. Not sure how real they are, but it looks like we are seeing Winston out of Valentine, with the rest of the comp exactly the same. Red Team, by the looks of things, looking to play the same Sojourn Ramatra, but this time, as you'll see in just a second, with an Alari Baptiste backline.
I wouldn't look too much into that backline right just yet, Spectrion. I mean, they still have 30 seconds to mess with us here. I mean, it wouldn't. I don't think it would be the worst. It's definitely a backline there that it can provide a little bit more damage because we talked about there. Everyone on Red Team seemed to just kind of be lacking in finding the damage and finding the kills. So maybe with a little bit more help from the supports, you know, you'll start to see Zero and Leo, you know, find those openings that they're looking for.
And 2 seconds left. These picks look real. The only change has been Leo over to the Ash, so you don't have that same level of one-shot capability, but instead you've got consistent damage. That Dynamite, of course, it's absolutely great for pressuring out tanks from behind cover. So, oh wow, Wicker goes down so early!
And poking their head out a little bit too far there, but it really all started with Leo landing the one headshot right there. Goldia got to be able to find them. Now Goldia finds Ramosu. This is the opening we've been looking for Red Team. They struggled so much on Nepal. Now everything's starting to go their way. Already one tick going their way, and they decided to get off the point, but it looks like they should get a second one here before Valentine really just tries to get back on. But Goldia!
They're just hemorrhaging picks right now. There isn't really a chance here for Valentine. Once they lose Wicker, then there's no one to mark the front high ground. Red Team can take it for free, and they just get absolutely flattened. 5 minutes and 40 seconds here, Dex. An absolutely absurd time bank. Mari goes over to the Doomfist to try and disrupt and, I guess, solo kill the backline earlier. Does make it a little bit harder to poke out, but we'll see what results they find. AGMR, only one.
Yeah, Jackal will find them right there, and that's actually going to kind of help out Red Team now because Valentine's going to have to wait for AJMR to just regroup back with their team. But look at what Valentine's doing here. They're making some swaps.
That they are wholesale. In fact, Snozza on the Widowmaker. It has the sightlines for it, and no dive means you can't really be pressured out except by the Tracer. And Rosa long range, apparently. And a great for the Nano should have come on to Mari, but so far, they're just struggling to get a full team fight here, Dex.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be a little bit of a disjointed one without Snozzler there, and Mari going to be taken out very early on. I mean, Red Team looked like they were kind of lost on the first map. Now it looks like Valentine doesn't understand what's going on.
No, very much so. But they're just trying to look at Soldier now? I mean, you can apply DPS passive, sure, but... Okay, Ham Zero's woken up, heard our criticisms, and just absolutely flattening right now. A pulse on means that, again, Valentine have to regroup. They're going to have no space. They're going to have to fight for control of anywhere at all. Can they even recontest second here?
They're going to be able to, but I mean, Valentine, it seems like most of their team has made at least one swap. Mari already going back over to the Winston here. Snozzer now going to play the Cassie. Captain Sun coming out here from Goldia as the card just still slowly progressing its way to that checkpoint right there. Rosa trying to take care of Mari, and honestly, once they do that, they should be able to cap point 2. The kills are just an added bonus.
And I think AGMR is really struggling here on this Ana. I like the idea of it. If you can sit on the high ground, you're quite hard to pressure than most of Red Team, and the value you can provide is probably higher than a Kiriko if you don't take your survivability into mind, you know. The nade, especially onto Ramattra, a brutal sleep the same. Nano boost onto your tank is essentially a free fight win. But just dying time and time again, there was no healing for Mari in that previous engagement. That's why we get a 5-minute time bank heading to third here.
And Valentine has yet to actually use an ultimate. They've only really been able to build up to 2. AJMR, they're going to be the first one taken out. I love Leo swapping over to this Cassie. They've been able to do so much. The beat being invested here by Wicca and Spectrion at this moment right here. I have the feeling that Valentine is looking at this fight as something that they need to win here just to stop the bleeding a little bit.
Ramsu's done great work. That's 2 frags from the trade supplier of Valentine, but there's so much more left to do, and their team is just so far away. We'll see if they can find much more. I don't think so. Nade will take him down in the end. Valentine struggling. They've got the nano boost. They've got hugely advantageous sightlines for them, but Red Team just has so much momentum.
And Valentine, I mean, they need to be able to win a fight here. Leo's the only one with an ultimate ready to go. They cannot allow Goldia to build up to their Captain Sun here. The Nano coming out onto AJMR, and they have their sights set here on Jacko. They're going to be able to find them, but at the cost of AJMR in the backline. Deadeye coming out here from Leo, going to be able to find Wicca. Now no supports alive for Valentine, as it's really going to be up to Mari here to try to keep this fight alive. Going to pop the Primal Rage here just to try to slow down the cart. Fine. Leo out the Captain Sun, going to hit them. They're going to get Sunstruck right there to get sent back to the spawn. Valentine, though, still losing members, but still making sure that cart's not getting pushed.
At the end of the day, because the cart isn't getting pushed, this is still advantageous for Valentine. Mari wants the ram for the frontline pressure, and fair enough, to Pulse Bomb cancelled. Goldia uses the outburst to take the kill. 3 players left standing for Valentine. What more can they do?
I don't know. Snozzer had a Deadeye right there. That would be the only ultimate that Valentine had. Red Team just trying to finish this map up here. Valentine just trying to make sure they can eat away a little bit more time, but losing Mari, those chances are going away. Deadeye from Snozzer going to be able to find one, but it's going to be a little too late there, as it will be Red Team putting a clinic on through Hollywood.
I mean, wow. Where was this Red Team last map? I mean, I do think, you know, for my money, a part of it was Valentine getting snowballed and I think a little bit mentally boomed as well. Once they lose that first kill so quickly, then ult advantage super heavy in Red Team's favor. I think it was the hitscan Snozza who got picked throughout second, which makes it super easy for Red Team to get on the high ground. And all these kind of cascading early frags that they're giving up did make it super hard for them there on the third map, but it's still a super strong performance from Red Team and from Ham Zero in particular. Leo as well. Great opening shots to take care of the Lucio. Wicca going to be kicking herself after a death like that. That was a brutal 1-2 concede. Valentine, I mean, I hope they use this kind of minute or so pause time they get to reconsider how they're going to approach this map, because they look absolutely lost here on Red Team's pick. It's bamboozled, and now they have been given a chance to reset their momentum. You know, stem the bleeding a little bit. Hopefully they can come out with a similar attack rounds, but Sig, Brig, they want to try and play for this Babs life super hard. I'm assuming Snozza will end up on an Asher or Sojourn for that poke. This comp is going to be a lot slower and a lot more focused on your DPS providing results. See if it works out for them as Red Team on exactly the same strat.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been high on Red Team this entire season. They are an incredible team that has really just struggled over the past couple days here, and it's so good to see them finally show what they looked like throughout the entire regular season in both console and PC here. But now, I mean, defense is a whole nother kind of animal here. Mari on the Sigma, we've talked a lot about it, and a lot of people have talked about Sigma just getting buffed so much here, just trying to build as much space as they can, as Rosa just trying to make sure they send them back a little bit.
At least for now, they are held back. We see the Ramsu trying to get deep onto the building and dealing with the Tracer, actually, but still 50-50 duel.
Yeah, and you see Zero there trying to get rid of Ramosu in that backline. Honestly, Wicca has to be the main target for Zero at the moment. Getting rid of that Brig gets rid of a lot here for Valentine. But right now, both teams, I mean, this is looking like the first fight on Nepal all over again. No one necessarily dying. Everyone just playing it really safe. But one person gets put into a corner here. The Immortality Field has to be invested. Goldia, though, going to be able to find Snozzer out here early. And will it be like that first fight on Nepal where everyone just falls right after that? Punches being thrown, Wicca gonna fall, and that might just do it for this fight. Yeah, Mari's out, Valentine gonna have to back up.
And Sig wins the poke into a comp like Ramatra, but you just don't win the brawl. So when the fists come out, then Valentine needs to find a way of mitigating that, and I think they have to play it a little bit faster. It's so slow, so passive from them, and they haven't really found the results. I mean, Snozlar so far away from the overclock still. No, it's a fresh swap, but Red team are just so comfortable. They have 5 ultimates, and though the pulse bomb misses, it's still just a mark of how confident they are that Ham Zero can go for an absolutely brazen play like that.
Yeah, I mean, Zero looked great at the first round. I'm not surprised they threw out that pulse bomb very early. The amp matrix, though, coming in from AJMR. Goldiga trying to respond with the Captain Sun of their own on that high ground. Hits onto a couple people. 2 get taken out. 3 down. Mari will find 1, but the damage has already been done. Valentine, no way in hell they win this fight.
Silver lining, you've got a tick and change, but, you know, flip side of things, you're almost guaranteed a worse time bank than your opponents. You have been able to bleed up some of their ultimates. Support ults aren't typically considered the strongest, nor is the Pulse Bomb, but significant lead for Valentine's. If they can't win this fight, then I gotta say, even though they have another shot after this, I'm not confident about their chances, Dex. It's been so flaccid here, and Wicca goes down once again.
And honestly, if you're Valentine, you have to get out. Snozler trying to, just not going to be able to as Leo lands that railgun shot onto them there. Rosa wants to get hyper aggressive. They want to try to stagger this out as much as they can. AJMR falls. Ramosu just has to try to get themselves out of this one. But Valentine making some swaps here late with not a lot of time left on the clock, Spectrion.
Snozlar doesn't seem to know what to go. Just flirts with the Widowmaker, but Tracer is going to be in perma. Can sync up with Ramsu on the dives, but we haven't really seen anything like that before. I mean, Valentine just seemed totally lost, so if this blade doesn't bite, if the Flux doesn't connect, then Red Team could well be finding a full hold here.
And Mari needs to be kept alive right here. They back out of that Immortality Field. It's gone. They find Wicca. The rally came out. Doesn't find anything. The Blade just trying anything right now. But Valentine losing it all. Flux from Mari. Just trying to get anything here. They're going to be able to capture 2 in it. But Mari will fall before they're able to throw them back down to the ground.
They can touch. That is the one thing to be said here. I don't know why they're throwing their bodies onto the objective because it's 20 seconds. If you die, that's it. That's cooked, but you can get respawns if you just play your lives. Wicca on a sliver of HP will be able to survive, at least for now. Valentine have a shot.
And Matrix coming out there from AJMR. Same thing for Jacko. The overclock from Leo will already take care of one. The disrupting shot takes care of the other supports. Now they're trying to keep their team in this one, but Jacko going to be able to take care of them here. Everyone for Valentine just falling down, and Red Team responds with a dominant map of their own.
And I think the Valentine, at least on that attack, just had no clue what to do. I mean, on that composition, I failed to see what their real win conditions are, bar just a railgun, or forcing Red Team just to play a poke the entire time. Red Team have no reason to play a poke. They don't. They end up just either going in on tracer cycles that no one can predict, or just playing a brawl and winning it out. I mean, with the Brigitte rather than the Lucio, you don't have the ability to avoid a brawl. You don't have the ability to rotate through choke easily. You can't break it. And not having any mobile tanks to easily assail the high ground means you can't fight for the high grounds first, battle the point later. So unless they won off of ults, I don't really see what their main advantage is. And when they had the ults online, they just kind of pressed Q. I mean, the Blade from Ramsu are really representative to me, just dying to the annihilation, not even really punch too much. We're going to go to a break after this, folks, but I gotta say, Valentine, they were so strong on Nepal. Where's all that gone?
I mean, you could look back at the first pick on Hollywood right there, and that kind of tells you the entire story of that map. Wicca just maybe poking their head a little bit too far, gets taken out, and I mean, it never seemed like Valentine was able to recover from that there. I think they might have only won about 1 fight that entire defensive round, and then they struggled to really find anything on their offensive round.
I mean, yeah, the offensive round as well was just getting staggered, wasn't it? I mean, it was Wicca who died first point, then Snozzler, who dies second point, and by the time you get to third point, the ults, the mental, everything's built up against you. So I think they did kind of get snowballed out the map, and that means that maybe it's not the end of the world for them as we kind of start thinking about what we might see on our third map. I believe that's going to be Flashpoint, but it's still a momentum thing. You've absolutely been smacked, and we'll hope that their map pick has better results for them.
Yeah, absolutely. But like you said, we're going to throw it to a quick break and then be right back with map number 3 of this series. Make sure y'all stick around. You're not going to want to miss it. All right, welcome back, everyone, from that halftime break. Red team tying up the series on Hollywood in a dominant fashion there, Spectrion. But, I mean, during that break, me and you talked about it a little bit, and you said that, yeah, red team looked good, but Valentine also just played a bad map. Do you think that's going to carry over here in this series?
They've been given some pause time, they've been given some break time, so that does allow you to reset your mental, especially if your team has been playing together for a little while, as a team like Valentine has. They should have been able to get themselves back to, maybe not perfect, but definitely a level where they can perform at a very high level. We've seen that from them before. As well as that, Suravasa, a map where I reckon they can probably get away with playing this Ramacha Tracer Sojourn comp that they found all their success on Nepal. So I think there are cards definitely going towards them in their favor, but they really just can't get the domination from Hollywood out of my mind whatsoever, because that was one of the most one-sided maps I've seen in a while. We've got Suravasa coming up next, so like I said, shorter sight lines for the most part, no high grounds to assail, should be a ram mirror once again, and we have seen how that played out the last time.
Yeah, I mean, Valentine, if Red Team's going to bring out this Ram Mirror, they're going to have to show us something here on Suravasa, in my opinion. Because once you get to push as well, you can just run the Ramatra no matter what. So if it's going to be the Ram Mirror, Red Team definitely has to show something. I would not be surprised, though, if they bring out something different. I mean, they could try to run that Winston again. It looked very, very good for them on Hollywood.
I mean, they definitely could. I don't think there's a crazy amount of room to change things up. I mean, I play a Queen, maybe, if you were feeling creative. I still am a Monkey believer, but we're not seeing it this game, I'll put it that way. Maybe in the next game, which is Tred Gaming Goggles against Everfrost Esports, same channel. So, it's slightly more Monkey, though. What we get, though, of course, particularly to corner on that like this. There's 10 players in the lobby who are looking in, by the looks of things, more Ramatra.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what we thought coming into this one here. The biggest thing, though, is Ramosu currently hovering over the Genji. I think that's a bait. I hope it's a bait.
It's not the worst in the world. I think that Tracer has got significantly weaker with the changes to armor. You really can't pressure tank in that same way whatsoever, and so I think it does have its advantages, does the Genji, and if Ramsu's comfortable on the Genji, which most definitely they are, they will be able to find some real success with it into Red Team, as long as HM0 isn't given free reign in the backline.
Yeah, and I mean, I like how these two teams are playing here. They're not going for that same kind of spot. They're going for opposite ends of this point, but Zero looking like they're going to try to sneak into the backline here and just try to disrupt Valentine here a little bit. Already doing a good job of it, focusing or forcing a lot of Red Team to really focus, or Valentine to focus on them instead, as Red Team now looking like they're going to be able to have control of the point first. Mario, though, going to just try to stall this one out a little bit, looking for any little opening they can. Zero very low, but each team right now respecting each other, which we've seen a lot in these first fights. But Snozzler opens everything up, and it's again just going to kind of be a little bit of a domino effect right here, as Valentine's going to find pick after pick.
I mean, great start from Valentine. The double flag support of Red Team not really paying dividends. Just a little bit more spacing for Valentine, able to play the point positioning, able to play the cover, and able to convert Genji of Ramsu. We questioned it earlier, Dex, but up to 60% already of that Dragon Blade really finding work in that first engagement. And now with high grounds to play with, a lot easier, then it should continue to produce results. Red Team re-aggress. Again, no Lucius V going to be a huge issue for them.
Yeah, and right now, Red Team just has to try to find something. They cannot fall into the same kind of rut they fell into on Nepal, where they just really struggle to find any opening pick. Valentine, I mean, they almost lost Ramosu there. Red Team's been able to pump in damage, just not been able to find the kills. You see Zero right there trying to get rid of one of them. Has to recall to keep themselves alive, and now they're just going to try to regroup with their team. Katsuni Rush, though, coming out from AJMR, and that's Valentine's go button. Mari trying to keep herself alive right here, but you have to get all that healing from AJMR right there to keep him alive.
Yeah, Katsuni Rush not ideal there, and so Valentine going to retreat back to the point with their tail between their legs. Window popped now, pressure cycle for Red Team, and this time Snozzle goes down.
And there's that opening pick that Red Team was looking for. Valentine going to try to get this to 99% before they just surrender in this fight. And they will keep on losing members, but hey, they got to 99%. AJMR will take one with them, but it's going to be Red Team retaking this first point.
Huge mistake from AJMR, I have to say. With that Katsune Rush, it should be basically unkiteable for a team without a Lucio, let alone a team with one. So red team, they do a great job of leaving it. So yeah, great play from them, but the placement also a little bit suspect as well from Valentine. Maybe a little bit too speculative. And as it stands, that means red team is in control. Just a single fight needed to flip it all the way, but Valentine could struggle to get even that.
Beat though coming out here from Wicked. It's going to be partnered with the Blade. Mari going to be able to find Leo Light there. Ramosu going to be able to find one. Goldia will trade out as the Annihilation from Rosa coming out here on point. It's going to be able to help find Wicca, and red team might be able to sustain through this, especially with the investment of that Captive Sun leading to 2 more kills.
Red team just won out a 3 versus 5, and only by investing 2 ultimates? That is ridiculous. That should never happen. Valentine's plan was short and sweet. Beat in the Dragon Blade. Ramsu can go kill people. Honestly, once they found 2, I thought it was over. I thought it was GG's, but red team, 2 ults on their own, I would have hated. Allow them to extend play. Overtime now, Snozza goes down.
And honestly, if you're Valentine, how much do you go into this one? Here you lose your other DPS, your tank. Yeah, you're not winning this fight. And a great couple fights here for red team to get a foothold in this map and to take the first point.
Yeah, by the looks of things, flips over now, and red team with a little bit of a lead. Silver lining for Valentine is the ults pretty firmly in their favor. Overclock, Annihilation, Container Rush on the horizon is a pretty good scenario for them, so they're going to struggle, I think, to lose this next one, unless Jacko charges a very fast window or HM0 sticks a pulse.
Yeah, the pulse is going to be really interesting here, especially since it looks like Ramosu maybe might have solved Zero there, but yeah, no, they definitely see where Zero is. They are tracking them on that backline, and Ramosu going to be able to find them, so no pulse bomb early on in this fight. Now the overclock coming out here from Snelzer has their eye set on the Rosa, and everyone else for red team just trying to back up and respect this overclock, but the overclock not necessarily finding the kills, but it is finding all the damage they're looking for. It's going to lead to 2 kills right there and the point cap.
Overclock gets its job done, helps you convert that numbers advantage, but it was Ramsu, just pure Genji mechanics that starts that get numbers disadvantage in the first place. AM0, Pulse Bomb, speculative at best, but gets taken down to the 1v1. That should be super favored towards that Tracer. Great work from Ramsu, see if they can replicate it. Valentine are in a pretty good spot, all things considering, as long as they beat late. If they beat late, they win. If they try and go aggressive, though, red team will be able to punish.
I mean, Valentine's not afraid to be aggressive. We saw how they used the Container Rush and the beat the last 2 times. Neither of them, though, led to actual team fight wins here. Red team, though, has a lot in their side. The Captain Sun going to come out here as same thing with the Container Rush from Valentine and the beat. Valentine just trying to keep themselves alive in this fight. Now, the Annihilation from Mari going to be responded to here with nothing. Instead, it's going to be death on the side of red team. 3, 4, 5. It's going to be a team kill. And Spec, I don't think red team can get back here in time.
Not in any meaningful manner, no. They can donate their bodies to the ult banks of Valentine, and considering how spendy that last fight was, you know, I wouldn't hate it, but looks like they don't want to, just trying to set up for that next point wherever it may be. So congregating towards the right side of the map, and next flashpoint has unlocks. In this next fight, just the Annihilation for red team gonna be tricky, but just the Blade of Valentine means that we're almost entirely dry just of how many check marks were utilized in that last engagement. Ruins, gotta say, going to favor red team. Not only are they there first, but Annihilation is going to be great at clearing off the point.
And it's going to be really interesting to see how Rosa uses this Annihilation. Are they going to wait for Ramosu here to use their Blade and just try to cancel that out? Or are they going to let Ramosu just use the Blade, hope they don't find anyone here? But red team holding on to the point right now, just getting set up on it. Each team just kind of poking each other out. And Spectrion, we've seen some of these fights just last forever. But here comes the Blade. The Immortality Field going to come out. Already sliced, gone. Ramosu going to be able to find one. But here comes the Annihilation on point from Rosa. Does get rid of one here. Will find a second one. But Ramosu just trying to do their best, will eventually have to fall back, and it looks like red team gonna be able to cap point 3 first.
Honestly, that could have been a double kill Blade there from Ramsu. They're going to be really kicking themselves after that, but when all's said and done, red team do have control of the point. Looks to the future now. How can we begin making this a really quite long-term defense? Well, you got to get started in this next one, and you got to have a long fight. Just getting a pulse here is going to allow Snozza to walk into this next fight with an overclock. You will have no tools, so red team kind of want to buy time here, not wipe out their opponents too quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but if Zero can find a pulse bomb pick here early on, that will buy them a little bit of time and honestly make it probably a one team fight sort of situation here. Valentine, though, just trying to get something going here on point. Mari gonna try to get rid of Rosa here first. Pulse bomb, though, gonna come out from Zero, not gonna be able to find anyone. Pulse bombs on both sides have been really hit or miss so far this series here.
Yeah, really struggling to find impact here. Rosa just casting on point, keeping it contested, rotating those cooldowns, stay active for as long as possible, but the go button's been hit.
Go button's been hit. Rosa tried to get rid of Wicco right there. Mari, though, looking worse for wear. And yeah, Goldia gonna be able to find them right there. Red team, that's a huge opening pick. Valentine has to try to have some heroics here. The Kitsune Rush and the Overclock coming out here from them, just trying to get rid of anyone they can. They're struggling just to find any pick. They will get the point back in their control, but look at what Red team has. They have ultimates to spare. The Amp Matrix coming out and the beat. Wicca invests their beat, but they get melted almost immediately. The beat did nothing for them. Red team now going all the offensive right here, finding two. Gonna try to retake the pointer. Ramosu, Mari almost back with that Annihilation. You gotta be able to find Goldia there. Jacko will find Ramosu. It's gonna be all up to Mari here. Popping the Annihilation. Will be able to find Jacko, but Zero gonna be able to take care of Mari, and it looks like Red team will go on to map point. Okay, sounds like we've lost Spectrion here for the moment, but I mean, just a great fight there by Red team. Valentine tried coming back in, but look, they invested a little bit too much. They are so far behind in this ult economy that Red team, if they play it right, they do not need to necessarily really invest a lot into these fights. Hell, the Annihilation here might be all they need. If Zero can land a pulse bomb, it might be enough just to win in this fight. Here comes the Annihilation, though, from Rosa. Already 2-3 gone. This is exactly what Red team was looking for. Exactly what I talked about. 3 for Rosa. And Red team takes point here first. I mean, like I said, they could easily just kind of rotate through ultimates right here. Valentine's so far behind that if Red team potentially takes some quick fights here, with how fast Flashpoint really goes up, they could win this map pretty soon. Valentine, though, looking for the opening here. Pulse bomb coming out from Zero, will not be able to find anyone just yet. Mari gonna try to do whatever they can to buy some space. Leo gets very low. Snozzer and Leo gonna trade out right there. Mari gonna be able to find Goldia. No ultimates needed for Valentine in this fight. They find Leo out. They should be able to win this fight out and retake the point here. And Valentine, like I said, if Red team potentially played it fast with the ultimates they had coming, I thought they could potentially have ended this map. But Valentine showing how resilient they are. And now Snozzer going to be able to find Zero right there. I mean, that's going to stagger out Red team here for a moment. And now that ultimate economy that I talked about coming into this point is kind of gone all towards the side of Valentine here. About to have all 5 ultimates ready, while Red team really only going to have 2. So everything's kind of flipped here. That's why I was saying Red team, if they played fast, they could have ended this map. But Valentine now in great control to send it to a 0.5. They just cannot lose anyone here early. Ramosu, you got to be able to blink herself out of that fight right there. Overclock coming out here from Leo with that Amp Matrix beat from Wicca. Everyone for Valentine just going to walk straight through that point. Kills being traded each way, but Valentine losing the biggest one there of Mari. However, Red team will lose both their supports. AJMR falls right here. Everything is on the Wicca right now for healing. They're going to be able to find Leo there, but Rosa's still on point. Will take care of Lucio here, but now Rosa has a new target. Their name is Snozzer, who pops the overclock. They're going to fall right there. They need to hope that buys some time for everyone for Valentine to get back.
I mean, you need to in a position like this, right? It's almost last fight territory, so a hero play maybe not even that bad. Valentine, though, going to need to scramble to the objective. Annihilation, Kitsune Rush, great combo. Will it be enough to find the victory?
I mean, both sides... Yeah, it should be enough to find victory here, but you cannot lose AJMR early here. Here comes the Kitsune Rush out with Mari pair with that Annihilation, as both Rosa and them have it ready to go here. Valentine, though, on point, looking like Red team just going to allow them to retake it here. Actually, Valentine just straight up wins the point. Red team, without the contest there, will go to a 0.5 here. I don't know if that was a mistake by Red team or the overtime wick just burned down incredibly fast.
It's kind of both. No, you need to be contesting the objective, and unfortunately, as it doesn't happen, then Valentine in a great spot, all things considered. We'll see if they can make it to the final flashpoint. Annihilation mirrored. We'll see if that is going to be the difference maker with Goldia with a huge beat advantage.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like that Annihilation coming out there for Red Team helps out Valentine a little bit, because now they have one of their own and a beat coming up soon.
It would, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Red Team, they're going to be able to cap point here first. Valentine smartly regrouping before they really engage into a big fight here, Spec.
Exactly what they can find as they begin to push in. Valentine probably looking to try and find a pulse pick first. The beat from Wicker is going to be a necessity.
Immortality Field comes out, the Pulse Bomb comes out as well. Not going to be able to find anyone. Beat from both sides just to keep their team alive through it. Now the Overclock from Leo going to be forced back a little bit by Mari right there. Nothing coming from the Overclock just yet. Instead, though, it'll be Leo falling. Rosa, though, will take care of the other soldier on the other side for Valentine. Annihilation ready for Mari if they want to use it here. But with AJMR finding one but losing themselves, they might have to invest it here if they want to win this fight. Wicked, though, going to be able to find Rosa. Now all they have to do is get rid of Goldia, and it looks like Valentine going to be able to retake after Red Team gets 66%.
66% is a lot, though. It's going to really hurt if I am Valentine. So maybe not. It is basically about the edge of last fight territory here. Valentine going to have to sprint if it flips back the other way, but in their favor, Red Team don't have much at all. A window and a pulse bomb. So as long as they don't spend all three of their big ults here. They need to now. AJMR just dies.
Yeah, they need to invest that right now. Mari invests the Annihilation, but they're not going to be able to find anyone. They played a little bit too far away from their Lucio. Wicca going to lose their life as well, and Snarls are just going to try to get out with theirs here.
And it looks like they will, but again, it's such rough scenarios to be into, and I don't see how AJMR goes down there with a body shot, just taking too much damage by those things on rotate. Mari, Doomfist for the touch. So overtime is going to be essentially a guarantee. But what can you do? Rosa's 90% of the way to an Annihilation.
They have to be able to find a pick here first. They cannot lose someone like AJMR or Wicca out early. The Overclock, though, coming out from Snozzler. As you see the dive there for Mari. Mari, though, incredibly low. The Consumer Rush not going to be able to save them. The Annihilation now from Rosa, looking to seal the deal. The Pulse Bomb will be able to help Ramosu find one, but will it be enough? No! Red Team puts themselves on to series point.
That could have gone either way. Absolutely electrifying map of Suravasta, but when it's all said and done, it is Red Team who are just a singular map away from a rematch in the Grand Finals. And for Valentine, a map like that, you've got to be asking, what could have been? Because there are multiple opportunities, I think, for them to convert, and just circumstance, individual mistakes, what have you, just going against them. Even in that final fight, I think they had a decent chance, but Mari, I think, maybe try to take some frontline pressure off on the Doomfist instead of just going for an off angle on the other side of the point. Maybe if she'd able to flip the map a little bit, there's something to play with from Valentine. As it stands, though, Valentine now have to play from behind for the first time in this series. Yes, they do have another map pick, and this one, to their credit, was super close, but again, it's going to have to be perfection from here on out. Push going to be coming up next, and if I am Valentine, I'm probably looking to keep Red Team off of the Tracer. I think Ham Zero has been an absolute force of nature on that hero so far. Leo, I think, has been warming up as well on the Tracer. See if they want to end up mirroring out the Ramatra once again. If I'm them, I've maybe had it turn against me after a map like that, but they could be made out of sterner stuff. It was, again, super close. Could have gone either way, but just no cigar.
And speaking of that Ramatra, that was the biggest thing going into that map that we talked about. Could Red Team keep up with that mirrored Ramatra look? And I feel like we got our answer there of, yeah, they easily could. But I feel like for the most part of that map, we saw, I believe it was Ramosu playing the Genji. And they were able to find value with the Genji, but I think the Tracer would have been a little bit better for them there. And you eventually did see him move over to the Tracer, but I feel like coming out of the gate would have given him a little bit of a better opportunity right there. But honestly, Spec here, Red Team, that Hollywood map, in my opinion, has been the biggest difference for them. I felt like how dominant they were started to give them a lot of momentum, a lot of confidence, especially after how their last two series have gone, where it just kind of been struggle after struggle after struggle. Now they're starting to just get win after win after win, and it's building up that confidence into the Red Team that we all kind of knew, and the Red Team we kind of expected to see.
Yeah, I mean, the choice has come through. We'll see if it's a bed that Valentine have made and now been forced to lie in, as new Queen Street going to be coming up next. Fair enough. I mean, super high ground focused. So if you want to play either super aggressive DPS angles, that's fair. If you want to play a dive tank like the Doomfist that Mario's been moving towards in, scenarios of pressure, again, it makes sense. I think you mentioned the Genji from Ramsu, and I wouldn't say I'm biased either way on it. I think it's kind of fine. First point of Suravasa, I like it for the high grounds. After then, yeah, I think you are probably right in Tracer being a little bit more viable. I think the really interesting thing is Red Team even there trying to play double flex support, right? They started on the Baptiste Kiriko and swapped over to the Alari. We're able to find a lot of success even with these Lucio-esque comms. I think that maybe knowing that Valentine aren't going to just try and play out these brutal fundamentals, they don't need to kind of play their game, so they're just trying to play a poke 24/7, and they are winning it out in that poke war. Valentine, if they start playing a true brawl matchup, I think will have the upper hand, but it's about whether they decide to do it or not that will be the difference maker.
I mean, I think at this point you really can, if you're Valentine, I don't think you can fully go on something a little bit off the beaten path from what has worked for them here. Your backs are against the wall in this series, in this season here. I mean, Red Team's already beaten you once, and they got that upper hand in the upper bracket one where it was a 3-0 sweep. And honestly, once Valentine won Nepal, and it was in really good fashion, I thought Valentine finally figured Red Team out, but Red Team's just been able to respond so good in these last couple maps. Everyone on Valentine, we talked about Red Team needing to step up after Nepal. At this point, everyone on Valentine needs to step up a little bit. Yeah, that last map was close, but Red Team always kind of felt comfortable with it. They felt in control.
Yeah, I got to agree with that, actually. I think the control was the thing that really had me. I would say, I think they felt relatively in control on Suravasa. I mean, I've said it many, many times, but that really did come down to a nice edge. But I think Red Team just looked a little bit less pressed. But lack of a better phrase, see what they want to lock in. Queen Comp, if what we see is to be believed in this, I don't hate at all. Snozzler very likely going to be giving a TP out to spawn and going over to maybe a Sojourn, I'd expect. So I like the idea from Valentine. It's going to be a change-up, definitely, for the Red Team. It allows you to play those brawl fundamentals that we spoke about earlier, but also allowing you just to win off of your ults. That Rampage is going to be map-defining, especially because Red Teams choose time and time again to go without a Kiriko, without that cleanse, and without a sound barrier as well. Snozzler actually wants a Tracer, so they could play this as more of an angles dive comp, but in that respect, in this double flex support backline, is going to do a great job of marking the DPS.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like Snozzler maybe already got a sight there of 0, but you see them, Red Team right now, just playing a little bit back away from the point, trying to have 0 maybe take a lot of recon here, just getting a good idea of what they're going to be going up against. But Wickham falling first here again, not necessarily the opening Valentine was looking for. Yeah, you will trade out on the Leo there, but you've lost your speed boost, and now the cart's starting to be pushed here by Red Team.
You can make do, though, at the end of the day. People have to come fight for the car, and Leo is a larger contribution to the numerical trade, as it were. Oh my god, this Tracer drill is so intense, but it looks like both will end without scratch. Jacko, though, falls. Red Team in shambles.
Yeah, that's such a huge pick right there for Valentine, getting rid of the main source of healing for Red Team. Going to force them all to fall back. Maybe other than 0, who's just going to try to play off angles here and just annoy Snozzler a little bit.
That's your kind of job as a flank support in this composition. 0 looks not actually for a jewel. Been backed out for now. The window stall is so broken, and there's nothing Valentine can do but try and catch and chase a kill in other areas of the map.
And a nice combo there by Ramosu and Mori finding out Goldia, both the Immortality Field and the Healing Pylon gone, but Mori overextending a little bit too far. AJ and we're trying to come and help them, and Valentine falling apart here.
There was a possibility for a trade, but as you mentioned, just an overextension comes through from Valentine, and to my eyes, there was some split target priority. Plenty of members were low, none of them ended up falling, and that means the lead is going to be retaken by Red Team. I mean, the second fight is often the most important on a map like this, on a map type like Persian, so it's a significant momentum advantage to Red Team, especially with a pick like that.
Yeah, you have no pulse bomb now to annoy that backline with. 0 has a pulse bomb of their own. Are they going to invest it here? I would not be surprised if they do. Ramosu looking worse for wear there, but hey, they're going to be able to find 0-0. They're holding on to that pulse bomb, but Red Team just continues to build on to their lead.
And they don't really have much else to do. Even though they lose one, then until Valentine comes and contests the space, you might as well keep pushing. That's what they end up doing. And though Valentine now have cart control, it's Red Team who is still a little bit ahead in ult. Pulse Bomb, though, allows them a stay of execution. They can fight another day.
But speaking of a Pulse Bomb, it's going to be Zero throwing theirs on. Not going to be able to find one there. Mari with a huge pick onto Rosa, followed up by a pick on the Goldia. That's exactly what Valentine was looking for there. Honestly, that might be the lead for them here, Spec.
It could. It's going to get close, but I think it will be. I mean, Leo dying early, you might as well just go die on the cart if you're not going to disengage. That's what they ended up doing. Pulse Bomb, if you're not feeling the tracer, then fair enough for it. So double hit scan now for Red Team. They want to extend that poke phase yet further, even though Goldia wants to take the Lucio rather than the Alari. So some changes. This time, though, Valentine have the Rampage.
Casino Rush coming out from AJMR, going to be countered back with the Amp Matrix. One kill going each way right now. Mari, though, falling is the bigger one there for Valentine. Overclock coming out here from Leo. Still looking for anyone, but Snozzer finds two. Wicked going to be able to shut down Leo there, and Spectrion. This should be Valentine getting this first forward spawns when it's all said and done. However, Rosa has something to say about that. Finding Wicca, AJMR falls as well, and I don't know how much Ramosu can do on their own here. Snozzer there to help them out, but again, it's 2 DPS against 1 Ramatra.
Again, it's a weird ult spend as well from Valentine. In a fight like that, I would most definitely be thinking about leading with a Rampage because your opponents can do so little against it. Jacko now on the Kiriko to provide some level of mitigation. But instead, it's double support ults that don't find the mark, and Valentine have no recourse to the annihilation that comes later.
And Red Team going to have to back off this cart a little bit here because, like you said, Valentine has ultimates, and Red Team knows that. They don't want to really overextend themselves too much here. Zero, though, close to a Deadeye. Might be able to buy them some space and some time to build up to some other ultimates. Goldia not that far away from a beat, but they're going to be able to find Wicca out early. The blade coming out from Ramosu has to be able to find something. It will be able to find Goldia. Leo falls as well. So does Zero, and these should finally be the picks that get the forward spawns here for Valentine.
And it does come through. Valentine's still trading back and forth, still holding onto this Rampage, I have to say. Mari's definitely not been light with the trigger finger. That does mean that in this next fight, again, is going to be a small advantage, though with the beat online for it does go super early. Red Team have a chance to just counter out this ultimate that they've...
And part of me would not be surprised if they're kind of waiting for Jacko to maybe build up to a Kitsune Rush of their own to try to invest that in there to force out the beat. Just something to try to get a lot of value off it, knowing that they probably have both those support ultimates soon to be ready here. But Valentine, I mean, they're about to have their own Kitsune Rush as well here. And you do see Mari starting to chunk down Rosa a little bit. Mari trying to go in, the Kitsune Rush coming out. That's the go, bud. One member down, the beat and the Kitsune Rush come out from Red Team as well. Mari has their opening, but here comes the annihilation from Rosa. Now there's the Rampage. It finds 4, and 4 members of Red Team all go to the ground. Leo, though, it's going to be one that takes a little bit while to get down.
I mean, that ult was saved. Opportunity, no cleanse, no beat, and no more Red Team. Mari wipes the floor with them, and now continues to get closer and closer to the objective. Ult's so good for Valentine's. The only thing they don't have, is that left side high ground. If they'd have that, then they'd be peachy for this final egress.
And Rosa making the swap over here to the Winston. Has to try to be in vain here. The beat, though, from Valentine. Going to be able to hit all 5 members. Wicca takes care of Zero. And Goldia, the support line, getting in the kill feed, showing that they can also find the kills themselves right there. Rosa not going to be able to escape the wrath of the Queen. And now Valentine rounding this corner to the final stretch.
Yeah, things going from bad to worse here for Red Team. Yes, they do have advantageous sightlines. That's not the only thing in their favor. Momentum, of course, significantly for Valentine. The Dragon Blade as well could be used to lock them in. Spawn Ham Zero needs to find value with this Deadeye.
Suzu comes out there early, not going to be able to save them now. Leo going to be able to find them, and now Red Team has an opening just to try to get something going. Snalls are doing their best to try just to stall the cart, but it'll be one bullet to the dome that takes care of them. Red Team finally can take a little bit of a breath here.
And once you lose that first member of, I believe, Mari, all the thing you can do as Valentine is die in the cart, maybe stall time as much as you can to. That's what they do. To just slow the progress of Red Team as much as possible, because they're still in a pretty good spot, all things considered. This time, though, they can take some more 50-50 duels. All Valentine needs to do is burn the clock for 3 minutes, Dex, and they will be able to bring us from that 5.
Blade coming out here from Ramosu, going to be able to find Goldia. The Deadeye going to come out. Oh, Ramosu being able to deflect that right back to sender. What a play coming out from the Genji here, and that will lead to the team fight win for Valentine.
Lovely work, just using the one ultimate to get the lead and stopping Red Team from making any more progress. It looks like they want to keep this cart moving as far forward towards the spawn as they can. A lot of teams would actually elect to keep it stuck kind of in the middle section. But Red Team are forced to attack with this Winston into this Queen. Although the matchup's better this patch, it's still a rough one.
Casino Rush coming out here from Jack to get everything going. Valentine looking like they want to just say, hey, we're going to come right at you guys instead. Snozzo will fall. Ramosu almost falls there as well. Primal Rage going to be forced out there by Rosa, who is so close to death, but they're struggling to find anyone now. Have their target set on Mori. Going to be able to find them there now. Ramosu in the worst spot there, but looking like they're just going to try to stall out the cart here a little bit. Goldia finding two. Wicca, though, still going to be able to find one there on their way out.
That exit, it's nice to have, but it doesn't matter too much. In the grand scheme of things, that's a great fight for Valentine. They've burnt time, they've traded a Kitsune Rush for a Kitsune Rush and a Primal Rage, and now they can come back to this middle section of the map that they love. This Rampage is online once again, and the time now 1.5 minutes.
And the beat coming out a little bit too late there to save Leo. Red Team just desperately trying to reset the spawns right now if they can get a pick here, but Rosa diving back to keep themselves alive. Valentine gonna retake control of the cart, and they're just looking for more picks here.
I mean, it's just going so well in the favor of Valentine. A lovely pulse onto Jacko, exacerbates the issue. These staggers that the Red Team are taking means that it's one fight territory here, Dex. And that means that even if Red Team win out this next fight, they've got 4 in a row, I think, to get the lead. So much work for them to do. And map 5 on the horizon. It's so close, I can almost smell it.
And they can smell it too, finding Jacko there. The beat being invested by Wicca. 2 members down. Rosa just gonna try to staggering themselves out as much as they can. The Rampage, though, to seal the deal. 0 will fall by the blade of Ramosu, and Valentine setting this lower final series to the winner take all map 5.
I mean, they've seemingly warmed back up into this series because this is the Valentine that we saw on Nepal, and they've gone missing for a while. Hell knows why. What we do know, Dexatron, is that this series is delivering big time. I mean, Mari seems a lot more comfortable on that Queen, just allows to just hold the W key a lot more, doesn't have to think so much about your health management because of those bleeds coming through, allowing that extra sustain. And on a map like New Junk City, or New Queen Street, sorry, where you can just kind of play a little bit slower, play a little bit weirder with your ult timings, then it is really working out for them. Now, momentum now very firmly on the other side of things. Valentine have all the onus in the world. It's Red Team with a pick and a break too. When we're back, folks, the conclusion. Who's got this one winning?
Yeah, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. We have a map 5 on our hands for a spot in the grand finals. Both these teams have been hot and they have been cold. Spectrion, I think map 5 is going to be a great map for both these two teams.
We'd have to see so. I mean, it's been so back and forth. It feels like whenever one team has the lead, then they're just leagues above their opponents. When the other has it, then, the flip side is true. So, other than, of course, our Flashpoint map of Saravasa, we haven't really felt like we've seen a particularly close map. Hopefully that changes here with Rialto. I mean, Sightline's going to be funky, I'll put it that way. We've got some longer ones to work with. If these hit scans want to go towards a Widowmaker, I really would not mind it at all, both in terms of the fireworks and the success. Tank picks, pretty much everything is viable, but I'd probably be moving more towards a kind of more mobile heroes. They do think, though, if I am Valentine and I have just one that dominantly playing Queen, I'm just going to lock Queen no matter what the map says. It's the comp for us, it's where we've been finding our success, and it's where we expect to find our victory.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. I'm going to say this knowing I'm going to be dead wrong. I would not be surprised if any team tries to play a certain tank that can, knock people off of the bridge on this first point. It would be very, very interesting, especially for considering what's at stake here. But both these teams, I mean, Valentine, we talked about going into New Queen Street. They needed something to break their way because it seemed like Red Team had figured them out, and everything for Valentine broke their way.
Yeah, 2 seconds till the doors unlock. We can see what we're working with on the defense. Yeah, Queen again. Of course, Valentine going to be starting on the defense. Note the lack of a hit scan. Actually, Snozzler and Ramsu on the Genji Tracer. They want to be able to just assassinate these targets as quickly as possible. Ramsu actually, by the looks of things, wants a pause. Yeah, get one now. I mean, this is a pretty reasonable comp from Valentine, but the lack of a hit scan makes it super hard to really play consistently, right? Normally you have that hit scan who's slowing down your opponent's walk. You have to take care not to walk in a straight line to get a headshot, as it were. There's no threat of that anymore, which means that Red Team will be able to take space very easily, as long as they know in the knowledge that it could be harassed at any point by these double flanking DPS. So inconsistent, but high peaks from Valentine. Red Team, they're still locking in, but they will be, of course, on the attack, so they have plenty of time to adapt to their opponents.
Yeah, and I'm going to give a lot of credit to Hermosu. She has just been great on this Genji after I did kind of criticize her play of Genji on Saravasa. I didn't think it would work there. I honestly really didn't expect it to work on New Queen Street, but they made it work. And it's honestly because Snozzler went over to that Tracer, in my opinion. That, like you said, that double flank DPS line right there does cause a lot of problems to Red Team, and it seemed like they were a little bit slow to kind of figure it out there. Towards the end of the map, I think they started to get something with it, but it was just a little bit too late as Valentine had everything going their way.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you there. In terms of countering it out, because Red Team have the close attacking spawns, and they can go to whatever they want. So, for example, they could move towards maybe a Echo comp, for example, where Echo's going to have a lot of freedom as long as Snozzler doesn't just specifically try to hard mark Echo Mercy, and there's nothing really that Valentine can do, for example. So there's options to kind of counterpick this. But if I'm Red Team, do I spend my tournament life map trying to counterpick, trying to Giga Brain my opponents, or do I want to move more towards something that I've practiced that we know is a comfort comp for us that's going to find us the win? Because realistically, I would always go towards the latter. I'd always want to find something comfortable, because that is so much more important than having some sort of perceived advantage.
Now Red Team wants a pause. Valentine got their one timeout. Red Team wants their one timeout here. And I mean, Red Team counterpicking would be a really interesting thing, but I mean, it would make sense at this point in the tournament. You just want to make sure you have another series here, especially a grand finals one. And I mean, the biggest thing with Red Team right now is the fact that I'm seeing a Roadhog from Rosa. I know that Rosa does like to play the Hog, but I don't necessarily think we're going to be seeing the Hog come out here. Do you think there's a chance?
No. Actually, there is a chance. You can use it for a spawn peek and then instantly run back. But Hog is not strong, in my opinion. I mean, he is helped by the headshot changes, but still 20% DPS, but not passive. it just ruins his day, like, pretty summarily. He's going to really struggle in any sort of up-close brawl, and it's relatively easy for DPS on points like this to kite his hook range entirely. So I really don't believe in the Roadhog, but Roadhog players have a way of making him work where he never should, not in any sort of circumstance. So even though I don't believe we'll see a Roadhog, then if we do, it will probably just make my day worse. But I'd say that there's a chance for a hook. Other than that, though, it's probably just red team messing around in spawn.
Yeah, it probably is. But I mean, I'm looking at these compositions again right now. We kind of know what Valentine's going to come out with. They're going to come out with what worked for them on New Queen Street. And I don't blame them. I feel like Mari on that Jungle Queen really did cause red team a lot of problems as well. I mean, it seemed like the entire cohesion of Valentine on New Queen Street just worked out perfectly. They really only lost about 1 or 2 team fights, but red team really struggled to get anything going their way. I think they really only pushed that bot the barrier about 40 meters, and that was all they got. And remember, that was after they won that first team fight.
Hopefully we are in for realsies this time. 10 seconds till the game starts. Red team have adapted. It looks like D.Va, Echo, Mercy. Surely some of this is just for the spawn peak. This comp is very, very strange, and not something very likely that Valentine have seen before. They're sticking on it, though, so they will look to play their poke super hard. And no, they're changing now. So Sojin and Tracer. Okay, still makes sense. Still super heavy poke. D.Va allows you to control high ground a hell of a lot easier than, for example, the Remarch that they were playing with before. But other than that, essentially the same.
Yeah, and I do like this from red team, that D.Va has to be able to buy them some space, force Mari on that queen back a little bit. But if they invest too much of that defense matrix a little bit early, they're going to put themselves at a huge disadvantage. The knife being stuck there to Leo for a moment, but they're going to be safe on that high ground. Valentine, though, allowing red team to really push the card up to this first choke point right here. You see Rosa dive in, and it looks like all attention from red team, or Valentine, is on to Rosa, and hey, it works out. They get the DMAC right there. Down goals go Dia. Rosa going to follow them, and Valentine played that one perfectly, Spectrion.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit worried they'd forget about the objective, but it really doesn't matter if you just absolutely flatten the tank. Rosa's down. That's so much pressure gone. And with tank advantage, Valentine more than capable of wiping up the rest of the objectives. So first fight in their favor. See how many more they've got, as that's already 1.5 minutes off the bank.
I mean, finding Ramosu out to get everything going is exactly what red team needed, getting rid of that Genji that really popped off last map. And now the shout being invested by Mari a little bit early here. Wicca, though, going to be able to find Zero, who is just pestering them in that back line. But look at how Valentine's playing this. They're allowing red team to continue pushing this cart a little bit. Mari's the main person just stopping it here, while the DPS for Valentine is trying to get back. The focusing beam not going to be able to find anyone. Pulse Bomb, though, will be able to find Jacko. I think they stuck Jacko midair.
It looks like it, yeah, and that means that the tail is tucked between the legs of red team. Losing out the 4v5, they're absolutely brutal for them. Ramsey's back for the cleanup. Lovely work from Snuzzle. That pulse them absolutely pivotal. And a great trade too from, I believe, Wicca onto Hey, I'm Zero, who just gets flattened. The Echo is a great adaptation. Normally it'd be Snuzzler who has to hard mark that, but with this double flex support background, Snuzzler just doesn't have that level of space, so Leo should be free.
And right now, Spectrion already half that time bank is gone. Red team has pushed the card up a decent amount of the way, but the continue rush coming out from Valentine really wants them to get going. Pulse Bomb not going to be able to land on anyone as Schnauzer finds Jacko. Captive Sun will be able to hit Mari, but AJMR there to cleanse that one. And now Goldia overextends a little bit too much by jumping into the embracing arms of Ramosu's. Right there, Ramosu will find Leo as well. And Spectrion, red team starting to run out of time here.
Yeah, and ideas by the looks of things. They have some ults online, this dupe and this self-destruct, but they have to be the tools that get them this win, I think. Valentine has so much of a lead as well, and moving over to this Kiri Lucio shows the desperation. They need the cleanse for the rampage, but they just can't get in.
Leo looking to be in a spot to use that duplicate here. They're probably going to use it like how you would see a Primal Rage get used. The recall by Schnauzer there just to get them out of a sticky situation, but Valentine loaded on ultimates. Red team, they need to hope these two ultimates find all the value in the world. Beat and Blade coming out here from Valentine. Going to be able to find Goldia. Bomb going to come out, but Ramosu makes sure Rosa gets sent packing back to the spawn here, as red team needs to quickly regroup with less than a minute to go on the clock, but Leo invests the duplicate here. They have to find something, but they're not just yet. The duplicate's still alive, but they get knocked out of it before the bomb could be thrown out.
Oh, that's the worst stagger imaginable.
Valentine
I mean, down at 22 seconds, that you don't have a chance to keep playing the game. A touch is possible, yeah, but not as a full 5. If you play slow, you can charge into a Kitsune Rush pretty easy, but this Rampage of Valentine still has no recourse. Snozar with a pulse to a threat ever present on the horizon. As the overtime wick starts burning decks, what can we see now?
Pulse bomb going to come out there from Snozar. Not going to be able to fall onto anyone. Jacko has that Kitsune Rush. Has to invest it early to get everything going. Rosa flies up into the air, but they're going to get D-Mech. Mari holding on to the Rampage here, waiting for the opportune moment, waiting for some abilities to be invested out. Jacko still holding on to the Suzu at the moment, but Zero has this Pulse bomb ready to go. They have their eyes set on the Mori now. AJM are going to use a Kitsune Rush of their own. The remake gets denied. The Rampage comes out, and Valentine stops Red Team dead in their tracks and give themselves a great opportunity at heading to the grand finals.
73 meters, 55 centimeters. Dexatron, the gauntlet has been thrown. Metaphorically speaking, for the most part. But, I mean, if I'm Red Team, it's still winnable. I can still make it to the CGL Season 13 grand finals. But, I mean, the task in front of them, not even Herculean, maybe even Sisyphean. It just seems so impossible. You know, momentum so firmly on the side of their aggressors. They're going to have to play perfectly for 4 minutes. They can allow the cards to get round the corner. That is true, but barely that.
And
so, it's just so rough.
It is really rough, and you see what Red Team's doing. I think bringing out the Orisa at a point where, you know, Orisa got that little bit of a nerf, didn't really get anything in this recent patch that really buffed up a lot of tanks. I think you're just going to try to focus playing the Orisa so much just to stall out the card. In the moment that Rosa falls, if they do, you're going to be seeing them make a desperation swap to something else.
I mean, it's going to be a funky one. I'll put it that way. Queen's Comp is so reasonable to start off on. Orisa, I don't like in a situation like this. I understand some of the rationale, but I think Orisa has been significantly nerfed by some of the recent changes, be it to armor, be it to DPS passive, be it other heroes just, you know, getting stronger, and Orisa simply not. So we'll see if Red Team can make this stick. It might be a little bit harder to play the Queen into this, that is true, but Spawn Room's right there for Valentine. They can swap anytime they want.
Yeah, but I mean, right now, this Queen has just looked unstoppable for Valentine, and Red Team has really struggled to shut down anything for them. I mean, I don't think Mari died at all last round, so they are just playing this map perfectly.
And already, Rose is getting poked down quite a lot. Will be healed up by Jacko. That is charged towards the ultimate for sure, but once this card gets around the corner, that'll be the real test.
Already halfway to that golden box of victory, and at this point, Spectrion, if Red Team loses one team fight, that might just be it. Everyone has to play so cautiously. They have to not be making those they can't be poking out too far here as Valentine starts to push the cart yet again.
And it looks like Valentine are happy just to play slow. It's already a minute burned and no player yet falling. They want to not play for ults, but rather play for positioning, play for cooldowns, play for an advantage when it presents itself. So far it doesn't, but the W key's been hit.
Speaking of the advantage right there, Leo going to be able to escape with their life, but it's going to be Ramosu Snozzer getting rid of that DPS line. That might be the first nail in the coffin here. Rosa has a lot they have to do here, but they lose Jacko. Rosa's out of the fight, so is Goldia. Valentine gets their revenge on Red Team and locks themselves into the grand finals.
That they do. Fantastic performance from both teams, but when it comes to push come to shove, Valentine able to convert. I mean, that final fight, Valentine did such a great job just basing the pressure onto the Orisa time and time again. So Red Team, we're expecting a push onto the Orisa, quite rightly. But, I mean, Valentine just go for the DPS instead and just absolutely cook them. Lovely work from Ramsu, getting this clean up, finding their way to the grand finals. And I have to say, we were graced with an absolute series today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, both these teams had been playing so good in the regular season. Valentine got knocked down to this lower bracket by Red Team. Red Team made it all the way to the winners final in PC. They made it to the grand final in console. I mean, they're knocked out of both now, but give Red Team a lot of credit. It's not very often you see a team be able to excel in both console and PC the way this team has. A second and a third place finish is something they should not hang their head on.
it's always going to hurt. They're thinking about what could have been. I mean, realistically, that game was so close that it really could have gone either way. And though Valentine are the winners, Red Team are going to be lying awake at night thinking, what happens if we won that fight? What happens if we invested that a little bit better? It's going to really suck for them, to be honest. But as well, Valentine, they've made their date with Destiny. The lower bracket run has been all but completed. Just grand finals got to go. And I gotta say, playing like this, especially with this queen that they've managed to figure out, they are a terrifying team for anyone to face.
Yeah, and Nexus is that team they will be meeting in the grand finals. And honestly, Nexus, the Red Team took them to 4 maps there, but Nexus looked so good against them that entire series. I think Valentine does have their work cut out for them against that team. Nexus has been looking strong this entire playoffs, only dropping that 1 map to Red Team in that winners final. But you look at the teams that Valentine has had to beat. A lot of them have played against Nexus here, so maybe they've been able to learn a thing or two.
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, this is obviously a very different form to what we've seen from Valentine the last time they played Red Team. Hopefully that's been a global increase rather than just maybe learning the matchup into Red Team, maybe even Red Team playing a little bit weaker. Nexus is going to be a tough opponent for them, but I'd, on the whole, say it could be almost even a 50-50 matchup. Again, if Valentine can just play this queen, it just looks so damn good for them.
Yeah, and remember, these 2 teams, Nexus and Valentine, are 2 teams that regularly play in or try to qualify for OWCS play. They're doing really good in Face It League at the moment right now. So they are those 2 teams might have some history with each other already, but this time the stakes are a little bit higher, Spectrion.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, a CGL Grand Finals tournament could be it's a fun one, for sure. It's going to be a lot more pressure than they used to, and a lot more maps as well. It's going to be, of course, a best of 7, but I think that's been everything for our game today, more or less. Still want to remind everyone that it's going to be an EU game right after this, getting this order kind of messed up. Normally EU's later, but this EU game is late. The NA game was early. It's kind of mashed together to some funky, fresh ordering. I'm going to be on that one as well, so we will be back in relatively short order. I think that's kind of been everything for our game today, though, Dex.
Yeah, it has been a great one. You're not often presented with a 5-map banger like this one was. But before we sign off for this stream, just want to give a quick shout out to everyone behind the scenes, Orange, Miblizzard, and Lottie here for all the work they did on this broadcast. Like you said, Spectrion, I don't even think the stream's really going to end. We're just going to throw it to a break. We're just going to throw it to the break screen here as the lower finals in the EU PC of Tred Gaming versus Everfrost Esports is right up. Spec, I want to thank you so much for being my co-caster here tonight. It was incredible. This series was so fun. But we're going to take a quick break and be right back with the EU PC open tier lower finals.
Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yours.
Our inside here, you get an insight and you know something, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
Carpe diem. Carpe diem.
Got lots of love. Love. 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 Got lots of love. Love.
back. It's a brand new season of CGL.
This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch Esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss.
Look who's starting it all off. It's Raven. No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through. It's just gonna solidify everything for Mythos.
Does come back, and Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
SKC, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Lores, you're gonna be able to find these shots true.
Idu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes the Nambler immediately goes back like fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2, 3, so back and forth.
Hello everybody, welcome on back to more CGL action here. The day just doesn't stop despite the fact we started in NA. We're heading over to EU now for this lower finals between TredGamingEsports and Everfrost Esports. I've got Spectrion by my side. You ready to get into this?
Absolutely. I've had a half-hour break or so, just enough time to grab a cup of tea before I get right back into the action, this time on the correct side of the pond, if I do say so myself. An absolute banger matchup for us today. Everfrost Esports taking on TredGamingEsports as they try to go up into the finals. Take a quick look at the bracket so we can see the journey that both these teams have taken to get here. And there's one team in common here, Megalass. It's Potfriend.
Yeah, Potfriend is who sent Tred Gaming to that lower bracket in round 1, but it allowed Tred Gaming to have this amazing Cinderella story fighting through the lower bracket, you know, not against any slouches of teams, right? You look through their run, exclamation point play, Black Diamonds, MME, AFMT, all falling at their hands, and now standing before them is Everfrost Esports, just coming down from a brutal smackdown in that upper finals, a 3-0. Both these teams are going to be just itching for their chance at revenge here against Potfriend, but they have to go through each other here. And again, it's just that last spot in Grand Finals on the line, so really, these teams are going to leave it all out there.
It's going to be super close, at least in theory. Of course, the last 2 teams that both these teams clashed against Potfriend, then it was a 3-0 for I believe Everfrost. Tred Gaming had a leg up on them with a single map, so at least in the comparative testing, it looks like there's a bit of a lead here for TredGamingEsports. Speaking of, we'll take a gander at their roster here. I mean, it's a pretty stacked roster, if I do say so myself. I mean, Tred of Team Peps had a fantastic split on OWCS. Takunu as well on Super Shy did much the same. That's 2 top 8 placings on this team, by the way, on separate teams. And though Captain Prash, SXJ, and Divine were hovering outside it, they are still very, very strong players in their own right. One player I want to put some particular pressure onto is Captain Prash, because he is one of the most feast or famine Lucios I've seen in a hot second. There's a reason that some people try and rename an Ajax to a Prashi, and it's not because he's good at landing them every time.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, that Lucio, sometimes you're under pressure here, and Captain Prash is definitely going to have to step up, especially with the squad that Everfrost Esports is going to be throwing at them at the start here. You have Tricky and Kurama on that DPS line, Sunny on that tank, and of course Risu and Rod FD being your supports. I mean, this squad also super stacked, maybe not as much name brand, you know, if you're looking towards something like OWCS, but they're in this match for a reason. They cruised their way through the upper bracket until they came up against that brick wall of Potfriend, and now they're just looking to get back there. They want that spot in the grand finals.
And I think with a team like Everfrost Esports, of course, firstly, they've made OWCS twice under the EF Zodiac's banner, so they definitely have the tenure as a roster and the results too to back it up. I mean, whereas I say Tred Gaming is largely a team where they put all the resources into the hyper carry and the next big up tank Treads in the kind of EU scene, Everfrost is probably more of a DPS-centric team. Kurama has been fantastic for a long time, and Tricky personally has been impressing me when he's been given the opportunity to stretch his legs in some of these more hit-scan type heroes. So I think if Tricky and Kurama can really get to playing, that's where Everfrost Esports are going to find their success. Equally, if they can just shut down Tred, because I mean, Tred has just been on a tear recently, going from strength to strength with the teams he's playing on, the quality he's playing at. And a meta like this, where you can still very much tank swap, and that's one of Tred's best traits, I think it's a very, very strong patch, theoretically, for a team like TredGamingEsports.
Yeah, and you mentioned the patch. I mean, it really is going to have an impact on this match, right? Tanks, they have a lot more power in their arsenal now, pretty much regardless of what tank you end up going with. Earlier today, watching that NA game, we did see a lot of the Ramatra coming through. But, you know, there's other tanks in the pool, right? There's a little bit of Winston that can come out to cleave through those armor and things of that nature, but you know, only time will tell, and, you know, time will tell a lot of things, including our first map here, which, I mean, Spectrion, are you surprised? We're going to be heading to the ball.
Not at all, no. It feels like it's been the most commonly picked map, really. We saw it previously in the NA, and we're going to be seeing it again here, and fair enough, it's a pretty balanced map, all things considered. You got the opportunity to play every style of composition, of course, going to be Brawl a little bit more favored on Village, especially because of the May options that you have with the objective, but it's still just pretty fair, pretty balanced all around. I do want to talk a little bit more about the tank picks, because I know I said it a couple times in the NA broadcast, and was proven wrong, but I'm still super Winston pilled, and we really could be seeing that come out from either Sonnet or Tred. Both, I think, pretty comfortable on the hero. I think Tred a little bit more so, but I mean, throughout those NA games, we saw plenty of Ramatra, some Queen, and that was more or less the end of it. I'd say that's where we saw the most success being found, so we could be seeing Brand Mirrors once again.
Yeah, and I think it's just a matter of the patch is so new, right? People are still defaulting to the Ramatra simply because they haven't had time to, you know, limit test, figure out exactly what's going on. But, you know, especially in a series like this, if you find yourself behind the 8-ball at any point, there really are a lot of swaps that can come through that can, you know, throw a wrench into any plan, right? I mean, you've been playing in these sort of mirror matchups for so long against specific tanks, right? Just when the other team switches up the composition on you to something you're just not prepared for in the slightest, it really can just mess with you, right? You're not expecting to play against, I don't know, Reinhardt's or Orissa's again, or just, I mean, Winston, right? Especially here in EU, we haven't seen Winston in such a long time unless a team really feels confident in that dive. But I'm just interested to see in exactly what it'll be, if it's going to continue to be that Ramatra purely for the sustain, or if they've got something more up their sleeve already.
We'll have to wait and see. Now, I will say that there is some personal stake in this game as well. I mean, I was speaking to Captain Prash after they lost to Pop from the first time, and he was really not happy about it. I mean, there's history between these players as well. I mean, plenty of them have played on similar rosters. Plenty of them have been friends, met at LANs. So there's definitely a lot of competition, especially between TredGamingEsports and Pot Friend. I'm not sure if that same personal connection is there for Everfrost Esports, so we'll see if the emotions bleeding into the gameplay allows Tred Gaming a lead, but by the looks of things, it's a round mirror. Once again, Fundamental is going to be here for both these teams, because I've seen them both play fantastically on that Ramatra. It looks like no change at all, actually. SXJ on the Tracer is a bit of an old classic, a bit of a hood classic, actually. Kurama looking for the TP out of spawn, going to swap to Tracer afterwards, as is now SXJ, and in the full mirror, we're going to see how both these teams can break it down.
Yeah, they're both just going to slam into each other on the point here. And really, it's going to come up to those off angles potentially these DPS are able to take. Already established on the point, though, Tred Gaming. But already Tricky has found that railgun connection, and all that damage comes through onto Tred, just not able to be healed up in time. The Baptiste was not there. So in a very quick fashion, Everfrost, they come out swinging.
That's a lightning fast pick from Tricky. Hyped him in the pre-show and instantly showing up here on the big stage. Instantly, that's going to be capped as well for Everfrost Esports, so getting percentage on the board realistically as fast as you can make it. Tred Gaming sent back to spawn with their tail between their legs and no ults charged up. Going for the high ground wrap, kind of the standard play in a scenario like this. We'll see if Gucci can start posting frags as well.
It's going to be important here. Everfrost, they've established on the point, but Tred Gaming, they're trying to assault from all angles here. You're seeing this blink in from SXJ now onto the backline here, but it's already Riso removed from the fight. And now Everfrost Esports, they're falling over one after another at the hands of Tred's fists as you're seeing SXJ just sort of apply pressure to the rest of these standing members here. They will be able to get Tekuno, but not before Tred Gaming gets the flip.
And they will have to go in taxi. We see Prash running to do it now, but there's a lightning fast flip here. So Everfrost Esports haven't really been able to charge up too much. Ult's still on the horizon as well. So this next fight, well, both teams are going to be placed those to charge into their ultimates. It's going to allow TredGamingEsports to charge into quite a lot of percentage as well. So it should be pretty good progress for them either way.
And Tred already dropped incredibly low here. Again, gonna have to pop that Nemesis for him just to stay alive. That Pulse Bomb from Kurama ends up going wide, so no value found here. But a stick already from SXJ is gonna force out the Immortality Field, but Gucci will follow it up with a Railgun, taking Sone out of the fight here. And it's just gonna be all Tred Gaming in the kill feed here as they secure another fight.
Dude, that's such a good stick from SXJ. Forces the lamp to come out from Reisu, and at the same time, the rest of TredGamingEsports just W key onto Zona, who just gets flattened. What's he got to protect him? A lamp? So, taken down very well. Only the window invested to from TredGamingEsports, bar Pulse ones. So they will still have tools into this next engagement, and already at almost 60%, they are getting closer and closer to capping out this first point.
Yes, and now with the railguns activated on both sides here, Gucci and Tricky trying to come up massively, but in the face of those sound barriers, it will be Gucci actually able to take down Tricky first. I did not think a kill would come through due to those Lucios, but it seems as though it's already too late. The damage has been done. Tred Gaming coming away with more and more picks here to secure another fight.
I guess silver lining here for Everfrost Esports is they're now up an ultimate against their opponents, but trust me when I say this is a very dark cloud for them. 80%, they will be able to get a relatively easy touch with Kurama on that Tracer. However, they don't have much else going in the momentum, and TredGamingEsports, generally with defensive positioning, are looking very strong right now.
Looking extremely strong indeed here, heading towards what could be the final fight of this point. They got to get somebody on to trigger the overtime. They do just that. Amplification Matrix from Risu is going to start it out here. A little bit of harassment from SXJ, but it'll actually be a distraction as Tred is now in their face with an Annihilation here, creating so much space. Both of the Ramachas back and forth, crossing their arms in front of each other like it's an anime fight, but it seems as though both Annihilations will come away without any picks coming through. The first one will be Tricky, removing Tekuno from this fight here. Now going back and forth, a 4v4 situation, but the Baptiste missing from Tred Gaming means that they lack so much sustained healing. Everfrost, they can live a little bit better. As said though, Gucci managed to find the one on Tricky, so now it is just the support to the Ramacha alive for Everfrost here. They lose their Baptiste now late in the fight, and all Sone can do is cross their arms and wait for death. They should be Tred Gaming getting the flip here and getting the round.
And that's such a good trade, 1-for-1 for Everfrost Esports. Yeah, they overtime started. Do they even get a second touch? They do, actually. Kurama's body is on the objective, but it's going to burn pretty quickly. SHA wins out the Tracer 1v1, and Rod FD just can't touch the objective. I mean, back to what I was saying, Tekuno, I believe, was it for Kurama who went down? I mean, that's such a good trade. It doesn't matter that you lose out on a DPS because your Baptiste is dead. All you have to do is pressure tank from then on, and you should be able to convert, but getting a little bit too aggressive means that there was Gucci on the other side of things to find a fantastic trade onto Tricky, and the numbers advance is too much to overcome for Everfrost Esports. They give up the first point. Tred Gaming, look right now, looking in control, and as we head onto an even more DPS-centric point, I gotta say, if Gucci and SHJ keep performing like this, I will be very impressed, and very worried too for Everfrost Esports. Cassidy out for Tricky. A little bit stronger on these shorter sight lines, especially with the Symmetry. If you want to play it, it can be more broadly, but no, just wants the added burst damage, and SHJ on that May wants the wall pressure.
Yeah, wants the wall pressure instead, and looking to probably help out their Ramatra instead of doing the backline damage with the Tracer here. And now you're just seeing both Ramatras again. They're starting to fight for this high ground control. For the time being, though, Everfrost, they seem to have established themselves on it. Both teams wasting their Amplification Matrix means, or Immortality Field, I should say, means that it's just going to be this sort of waiting period, right, where the first pick, both teams are trying to find it here, and it could be bursted down onto either of these Ramachas. Sone, so incredibly low, finally found out from the fist from Tred, and that's going to be a beautiful pick for Tred Gaming to start off here, but it seems like they're just going to be content with getting the point cap and leaving these four members alive for the time being, and now surging forward here, another Immortality Field earned, but it's just not enough to keep them alive, and Tred Gaming will win this first fight.
Looks like Rod FD will be able to survive. Gap in the chat from Tred, instantly playing the mental game as well, and fair enough to him. Huge advantage having the Mei versus the Tracer in a fight like that. The Tracer really can't access that angle at all, and we see the difference in the ult charge as well. Actually, Kurama does have a pulse one. See where he's able to stick it.
Yeah, but already Gucci missing from the fight here. That pulse bomb ends up going wide, but Tricky is coming up massively right now, able to take out so many members of Tred Gaming. Just nobody left alive to get this point, and off the back of Tricky getting some insane picks, Everfrost will get back into this one.
I mean, there's some overconfidence, I think, coming to show there from TredGamingEsports. We'll see if they get bullied in the choker, if they are able to break it through. And Everfrost Esports seem happy to play these point angles, and that does make sense. When you are playing this Tracer Cassidy, you have a lot of a better time on these wider angles than trying to play choke against a Mei.
Yeah, it's always going to be brutal playing into that Mei here, heading on into the fight. You're seeing both squads have plenty of ultimates to use here. It's going to be the Annihilation for Sone to try to push through this Amplification Matrix. They'll be able to do just that, removing Gucci from the equation here. Now with those Fists of Fury and a little help from Tricky, Tred will be removed as well here. That Mei wall is going to help the rest of Tred Gaming escape with their lives. At least that was the plan, but SXJ going to fall at the hands of this Cassidy, and that's just another fight for Everfrost Esports.
That it is, but you look at the ult scenario now, what can Everfrost Esports do? They've got a beat on a pulse one into 4 checkmarks of Tred Gaming, and I gotta say that Blizzard is a hell of a lot stronger than any pulse one that Kurama can land. Huge advantage here for Tred. As long as they can get through the choke, they should be able to win a fight and start snowballing too.
Yeah, and Tred Gaming, they're trying to make it work for them. They have their overclock out. They're investing a lot into this fight. Gucci will be able to come up with Kurama first, and now with the Blizzard, it should just be free farming for the entirety of Tred Gaming, which it is. Tricky trying to do so much on this Cassidy. Unfortunately, you can only do so much against the opposition, and Tred Gaming will get this point back.
They blow their entire ult bank though, and in a situation they probably didn't need to. They already had an active Annihilation when they turned it into a 5 versus 4. After that, 3 ultimate seems like overkill to me. I'm gonna be so real. Stick.
Ooh,
oh my god,
my gosh. Yeah, that was a massive stick from Kurama, taking out the supports. Tred with no healing will just be removed from the equation, and all Gucci and SXJ can do is die quickly as the point flip's going to come back through for Everfrost.
That it will, and they are getting closer and closer to getting the final cap out. We are in last fight territory here, and again, the ults will favor Everfrost Esports, but not by a crazy amount. Tred Gaming, though, in a bit of a rough scenario. They can't play for any ultimates past the window, so they're going to need to try and force Sonic into a frontline trade.
Yeah, and that's the hope and the dream right now. You're seeing Kurama do a little bit of harassing here, but they're going to try to turn, at least apply some pressure to this Tracer for now. The Mei wall is going to be out with the Amplification Matrix, as there's just pressure on the point, as well as just pressure daring anybody from Everfrost to peek out and touch, but they peek out with a Deadeye, manages to take the trade, removing SXJ, but at the cost of their own life here. Now it is just Tred Gaming who has to maintain pressure on this point to keep the overtime going, get the flip going, and they are able to do just that in this 4v4 situation though.
And having your hit scan active versus not at a point like this means that you have crazy start line control. There's just nothing really that Everfrost can do but wait for their respawn. Now they're pressing the W key.
And they're surging forward here, looking for first picks. Captain Prash will be the first one down at the hands of Tricky. Some beautiful headshots from these Cassidy. Sure, they remove Sone from the fight. A pulse bomb for Kurama this time does not find the value it did before. So now, 4v4 situation. Everfrost missing their tank here. They do have to get back into this fight to make sure they have it going for them. Sound barrier out from Rod FD, going to be making their way over to the point now, knowing that Tred Gaming has to be the one to contest them. It's going to be Gucci now with the overclock, putting so much damage into this ball. This fucking ball cannot live in. Oh my gosh, through the Amplification Matrix, removes Kurama from the fight. Make that 3 for the Sojourn. And out of nowhere, Tred Gaming, they come up with the map win on the ball.
I got stressed after Everfrost Esports brought it to 99, but it's all Gucci, fam. Cleans it up with a 3k on the Soldier. We can see it again for good measure. But without that overclock coming up so big, TredGamingEsports are in a pretty rough spot, all things considered. It's not the end of the world, you know, with the respawns coming through on stranger heroes like Sone on that Wrecking Ball, but it's such an easier way of finding that W than just cleaning up with that 3-piece. I mean, TredGamingEsports definitely lacking some polish there. The overall comes to mind as a bit of an awkward spot for them, but they close it out 2-0. They cannot be happy with how they're performing right now.
Yeah, there's got to be some, adaptation on the side of Everfrost here, as things just weren't going their way. But hey, if you're Tred, it got a little bit scrappy, but you came up clutch in the end. It's always a good way to start the series, especially because, if I'm not mistaken, that was Everfrost's map pick for them coming down from upper bracket. So moving on forward here in the series, it'll be another pick from Everfrost Esports coming up next, and it seems like we're going to be heading over to the actual EU region in game and heading to Eichenwald.
Eichenwald's fair enough. Interesting pick. I think it has always been one of Flex ODX's and now Everfrost Esports' favorite map picks, and for relatively good reason. Generally, that was more during the Orisa meta, where they could just kind of let the DPS mess around in Castle and generally just abuse the second kind of portion of the map. But I still like it. If you want to play, for example, a Remarch like we've seen before, a lot of the macro stays essentially the same. Just substitute your gold for your Nemesis form with some added pressure cycles added in for good measure. I think we can definitely see some success for both ways, and I think now it generally is going to lead to some even longer silence. It means more pressure still on the hit scans. I say on the whole, Tricky has been finding the better of this matchup, but that's not to say that we've seen nothing from Gucci at all. I think it's going to be a really competitive 1v1 in the totality of things, actually. Another thing, though, that's going to be more of a factor is going to be how much damage and how much healing these Baptistes can dish out. Because again, these are the longer sight lines. It's generally a little bit harder to pressure backline on a map like Eichenwalde, and so your sheer numerical contribution is going to be a huge factor. And I gotta say, between Reisu and Takuno, I'm taking Takuno maybe 4 times out of 5.
I mean, hey, that's more than fair so far. I mean, just having that confidence in your backline to be able to contribute in more ways than just the regular sustain. It's exactly what you need in these sort of metas, right? But heading on into Eichenwald, listen, we're probably going to see the same standard meta we've been seeing. But I think from experience in ranked, and with the certain buffs that certain characters have gotten, it'd be fun if somebody ran Junkrat. That's all I'm going to say. Junkrat first point goes hard.
I just played Junkrat in a scrim yesterday, and we built Riptire every fight.
Yeah, because, Eichenwald has beautiful sightlines for the Junkrat, but it seems like neither of these teams want to run that right now.
Yeah, they have actual brains in their head, so they're probably not doing that. Again, no Tricky wants to play the Cassidy. I think it is one of his favorites, prefers it over the Sojourn, fair enough to him. I mean, just again, slightly shorter sidelines is typically where you see Cassidy played. Also maps where you don't have high ground to access, and to his credit, I do think that Sojourn's actually a bit better here, but if he wants to play the cast, I think we can see some real results. Allows us to play the Brawl a little bit harder, and speaking of Brawl, SXJ wants to start on this Reaper, just front-loading the damage, but yeah, over to the Tracer, fair enough, just baiting me, thanks man.
Yeah, first by Eichenwald, you kind of need that Tracer to be on all these flank routes, and then the Cassidy, it can work specifically on point A due to the mid-range sight lines, but already you're seeing Everfrost, bit of a proactive defense here. Sone gonna push forward incredibly aggressively, but Kurama already removed from the fight at the hands of the magnetic grenade from Gucci here, so already working short-handed is the defense. Everfrost, they're just trying to regroup, figure something out here. It's going to be incredibly low in the backline. Risu will be found out by SXJ here, and this damage-dealing duo of Tred Gaming, they're just continuing to clean up, do work here, as they get a very fast point A cap going.
SXJ just totally unmarked. Kurama seems to have lost track of the opposing Tracer, who's able to get what? Like that done. And there's Daggers too, to be found. The rest of Everfrost Esports need to escape, but the Hounds are barking at their door. TredGamingEsports is holding the W key Megalass. They might be able to find more.
Yeah, and just continuing to get some momentum going. Finally, a pick comes through for the defense. Captain Prash removed from the fight here. These punches coming through, trying to get this Lucio on the other side. And finally, Rod FD will go down, and Tred won't even be punished for it here. So it will just be more momentum. SXJ on the card, just emoting away.
It's card gaming. What can you do when your team's holding the W key? Well, it looks like your team's dying as well. That's 2 members taken down, trying to chase these staggers, this aggression of Tred coming back to bite them. Well, they do have closer spawns. This really could go either way.
Yeah, and with that pulse bomb, it forces up the immortality field from Everfrost here, and it isn't even going to force the annihilation just to keep Sone alive. Will come up with a pick onto Takuna before dying at the hands of Gucci here, and so now Gucci with a Deadeye, no fear, into the amplification matrix, removing Risu from the fight. It's going to be Tred Gaming now with a huge man advantage here to be able to continue this payload push.
And typically, that's one of the hardest points in the game to attack, but a lot of that is predicated on the assumption that the attackers are going to need to take castle control away. Because Everfrost all playing low ground, trying to chase these staggers themselves, then they just get punished. So a little bit of poetry here. Both sides getting punished for trying to chase some extra kills, and because of that, TredGamingEsports, great time as they get onto the bridge.
Yes, indeed. And so now you're seeing there's going to be a bit of a fight for high ground here, but Tred has that Annihilation popped here, just crossing their arms in the castle in front of the Deadeye. Tricky manages to find one on Gucci through the Ramatra, and while that Annihilation is still ticking, still going, eventually Tred is going to have to back up and let it fade away here as the attention from Everfrost now goes over to the objective, and Tred, it seems like they're going to have to just wait for the moment.
That they are, and looks like there's an attempt from Everfrost to push them once again. We've seen how this goes, Megalass, and this time it's 1-4, no more BAPs in play.
No BAPs in play means no sustained healing for either squad here, so TredGaming, they're trying to make their way over to the payload, trying to see if they can sneak it in while nobody's looking. It's going to be the sound barriers out from both of these squads. Yeah, no beat comes through for Tred, so this Ramatra incredibly low, and Gucci is going to now fall at the hands of Kurama, who's just popping off on the Tracer, heading to find the BAP once again. But Everfrost Esports, they managed to finally get a good, solid defensive hold.
Really curious what happened there, actually, because I didn't see where Prash was able to beat from. Either way, not catching Tred is a critical error, and though he's not the first buddy to fall, him having to play more passive does make it a hell of a lot harder for Gucci, who ends up losing out the 1v1 to Kurama. Now, finally, we have this high ground that we spoke about earlier. Control properly established now for Everfrost Esports. How do Tred want to rotate around this?
It's going to be a question here as a pulse bomb from Kurama ends up going wide. They're not able to find what they were looking for. Sone, meanwhile, is incredibly low, but has the Annihilation proc, so they're going to be able to deal that tick damage over time unless they're able to run away. Finally, it will run out here, but not before SXJ's lease on life ran out. Tricky was removed, though, by Gucci, so it is 4v4 here. Both teams, pivoting different ways here. The Amplification Matrix on high ground for the defense. Meanwhile, the Deadeye trying to zone anybody coming near the cart. Gucci's just going to hold this one for as long as possible.
What?
Kurama kills Takuno as they died to the Deadeye. What a convoluted series of events there. Now the Deadeye on the other side, Tricky trying to come up big, but it seems like the damage was already done. Tred's removed from the fight, and TredGaming is going to have to take another reset.
Crash is actually in Narnia, man. I don't know what the plan is. Okay, it looks like he can reset. TredGaming, though, are literally inches away from getting that cap. So Everfrost Esports might not want to play cast again. They might want to leave a body on the objective, let the backup come through. And it's not likely right now, with SXJ having just gone down. Prash is still lurking around. Gucci dies to Kurama. That's awkward. And Prash is... If he gets naded, it's going to be goofy as all hell. That's all I'm going to say.
Finally, the Lucio decides, no, I need to get back to my team. I can't do anything over here. But it is going to be castle control taken here for TredGaming. And they're out holding this high ground here. They have an amplification matrix to work with. But again, it is just sort of this poking back and forth here within the castle.
And right now, there's neither team with an advantage. TredGamingEsports, though, have managed to charge into their ults. 3 of them, in fact. No DPS ults, but they don't need them. So now they're hitting the go button.
Go button indeed. The Amplification Matrix out on this sideline here, just pumping through all of the damage, making it real. But Kurama comes up with a big stick, removing Gucci from the fight, as well as that Immortality Field. Now with the Sound Barrier out from Rod FD, the later Sound Barrier keeping everybody nice and healthy on the side of Everfrost. But now with the punches through, Risu is removed. They're trying to find the pick onto this Cassidy, and Tricky will do just that. Now being forced to use the Annihilation to help live a little bit longer here for Tred, but unfortunately that little bit has run out. Rod FD with the help of Sunday able to remove that Ramatra, and now again Captain Prash. I like the Lucio skating, it looks cool, but what are you doing to help your team?
Dying by the looks of things. I mean, I really don't like the decision to invest there from TredGamingEsports. I mean, if you just die there, then you can come into final fight with an ult advantage. As it stands, though, 15 seconds to even touch the objective. All you've got to work with is a pulse bomb and a dream. This is rough for them. This is really quite rough. Everfrost Esports this close to finding a stop off of a ginormous time bank.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of cart pressure back and forth there from the Tracers, as you're seeing now, but there's also a battle on high ground. Sone has to get that Immortality Field to stay alive, even through the Annihilation here. That ultimate ends up coming up with nothing here. Now the Deadeye from Gucci, it manages to put in some damage, but not secure a kill just yet. Meanwhile, SXJ removed from the field at the hands of Risu. It's going to be traded back and forth, but it's looking all blue in the kill feed. Gucci can only do so much, and Everfrost Esports will get a good defense on point B.
Honestly, that fight came a hell of a lot closer than I expected it to, considering the ult advantage. TredGamingEsports make a really good shake of the stick, but unfortunately not enough to really get too much going. Everfrost Esports get a stop, and I want to remind you, Megalass, this was a first fight conversion on that first point, so TredGamingEsports got stuck on second point for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, they capped so fast. They really had all this momentum going, but Everfrost, they dug their heels in and they made it work for them. So now Tred Gaming, what went from probably a lot of confidence, a lot of, hey, we can do whatever we want, now starting to feel like, oh, we have a real opponent against us. We've got to actually fight plan, do what we want, properly make it out here, because I promise, Everfrost Esports, they're looking for those little opportunities to slip between the cracks and get some free map wins.
I mean, now I would say I could now very winnable for them. I mean, the end of second point, pretty good progress. Honestly, for Tred Gaming, they would have loved to get more, especially with that time bank. So, now in a bit of a defensive position, I'll see what they can get done. Again, Gucci going to be on that Cassidy rather than that Sojourn, and again, we've seen great work from him, so I want to continue that trend. I think generally Captain Prash has been the one who has been conceding the most awkward deaths, but really it feels like a team effort from Tred Gaming to find the most creative ways of losing out advantage scenarios. So I think as long as they do focus up a little bit, as you spoke about Megalass, then they will be in a pretty decent spot, all things considered. But Kurama and Tricky have just been on fire.
Yeah, and so heading on into our first fight here, Everfrost, they're not playing any games, simple rotation through this left side here. They're going to be met with SXJ, putting in some damage, force the recall out already. Tred actually dropping incredibly low in this fight, going to force the Immortality Field as well as that Nemesis form just to try to help that Ramattra stay alive for the time being, but it'll actually be SXJ at the hand of Tricky, removed from the fight, and Tricky isn't done there, removing not one, not two, making a third for the Cassidy, trying to find these stagger picks, and again with another fast point A cap.
It seems like something just doesn't work on first point here, and this time Tricky elects not to overextend too much, at least for a while, waits for his team before pushing forward once again. Kurama on cart duty, and all of Everfrost Esports are going to take castle control here.
Yep, and so now it is going to be the duel on the high ground here, but you see the adaptation from Tred, they all run to cart. They're like, okay, we'll just go kill whoever has to be here, and now it feels like we flipped the situation around. Everfrost in the defender's position, Tred Gaming in the attackers. It just doesn't make all too much sense. Both Ramatras exchanging punches back and forth here. But it seems like this payload will start moving again as Tred, they have to regroup, get some healing onto them before surging into this next fight. They're actually going to dedicate Amplification Matrix at an odd angle, which is going to be countered out by Zone's Annihilation here, creating so much space, but it's actually Tred Gaming through that window that's doing so unbelievably much, taking down everybody, and Everfrost Esports is halted.
What? That was one of the weirdest fights I think I've ever seen. So, they go for a map flip. But so they give up what ostentatiously is one of the strongest. Oh my god, this Deadeye's so aggro!
My goodness, it's just no fear from Tred Gaming. They just have this confidence about them here. But with that sound barrier out from Rod FD, they should feel the pressure now. Tred incredibly low, needs some healing from the Baptiste. They will not get there in time. But somehow, some way, Tred Gaming, they're continuing to find picks in this fight. Tricky and Risu both removed. Everfrost Esports, they're working short-handed here. Sone also going to be removed now. And this is another defensive fight win.
I mean, I actually love that. You know you're behind in pretty much every ult. Your only thing you have is the Deadeye, and so you have to go for a bit of a gimmick play to give yourself an advantage. Doesn't get the kill, but it gets damage, and it forces land. That gives them enough of an ability to force a kill onto Reisu that they're able to trade up positively from there. Tred Gaming have to wait for their full 5 to come back, so it is some free push for Everfrost Esports. No fear, though. Gucci dies.
Gucci dies at the hand of Tricky. That Cassidy duel finally going one way, but SXJ willing to chime in and get some revenge for a teammate there. Now Tred in the backline with this Annihilation. Just again, this relentless aggression they are displaying here. Both Kurama ends up going wide here, and Sone just caught in a corridor between a Ramatra and a wall. And this will be another defensive fight win.
Tred, foot on the chest of Everfrost Esports, kicks them down to yet another fight loss. 2 minutes now burnt off the clock here, Megalass, and only spending the Pulse and the Annihilation. So good for your ult bank. I love the way that Tred Gaming have been rotating their ultimates. Forcing cart is going to be Kurama, so more progress for them, and it looks like right now Tred Gaming don't want to try and focus about it.
Yeah, SXJ, it'll be on them to sort of get down there, but now the rest of Everfrost Esports going to be rotating up this staircase to the high ground, using the amplification matrix to their advantage, but they're going to be dueling in front of each other here. Now the Deadeye out from Tricky, trying to find anybody as everybody is shying away in the corner. Hidden, Captain Brash going to have to use that sound barrier. The arms crossed in front of the Deadeye. There's nothing you can do, but this whole time, the payload's been moving, so the rest of Tred Gaming, after winning this fight, has to make sure a C9 doesn't occur and get Kurama off of this objective.
Can they? Oh, they get the chase skill as well, so it's great progress. It's now probably last fight territory. I think the cart would have to drift back all the way to the bridge to make it maybe even a chance of a second touch coming through. Everfrost Esports repulsed once again, just the beat online for them as well. It's going to be a pretty hard fight to get much progress, and while Tred Gaming 2 don't have many check marks, they have defensive positioning and a pulse bomb to boot, so it's going to be super hard for Kurama in theory to take space, and there's Racer dead.
Already the Baptiste missing here for the offense, and they're just going to be corralled inside of the castle. Nowhere left for them to hide. They're going to try to, punch up, dare their opponents to come towards them. But I mean, Tred Gaming, they have all the numbers right now, right? They know their healing's limited. That pulse bomb goes in. It forces the sound barrier out from Raw and FD just to keep the rest of Everfrost in this fight since they're down their BAP. Finally, the high ground's going to be controlled here, but it's going to come at the cost of their tank. Now with that immortality field not coming through in time to save Sone's life, Tred will just simply cross their arms for the time being, menacingly holding this high ground still as the rest of Everfrost Esports decides to get back and wait for their tank.
I really don't see the vision from Everfrost. It looks like they couldn't decide. They wanted to wait with their Baptiste, right? But they used the beat to stay alive to wait for their Baptiste. They just wait for the ultimate. And that means they have no protection against the fists of Tred once again. Minute left to go. This was a 5-minute time mech. I ain't know what it is about second point Eichenbach Megalass, but it seems like neither team can make any sort of attack happen. We're in last fight territory, actually, and Tred Gaming have everything but the pulse bomb. This is a scenario that we have seen choked before, but Gucci, again, looks to get funky with this Deadeye.
Yeah, I mean, Everfrost Esports are going to have to come up big. It's going to start with their own Deadeye. Tricky trying to do what they can. Meanwhile, the immortality field force from Kurama. Pulse bomb here, so now trades back and forth, but Tred Gaming, despite losing their Baptiste, still maintaining a 3v3 situation in this fight here. Now it's going to be them walking up to high ground, a little bit of pressure coming through onto the objective as these three members, they realize they have to rotate, but this annihilation is going to keep Tred alive for the time being here. Risu is found out, and so now it is just the Cassidy left on the objective. Nobody's there to help. The time bank is running low. This Lucio Rod FD not able to do a whole hell of a lot. The Ramatra trying to close the distance, punching their way towards the cart, but they just can't do it. Tred Gaming will head up 2-0 into match point.
And Tred Gaming as well continue the mental warfare. 3 C9s in chat, and I'm not quite sure that's what it was, not card carrying C9, but as it stands, that is 2-0 and a picture perfect defense. Tred Gaming get punched in the jaw, to be honest, but they're able to strut their stuff and show that they absolutely have it when it counts. I mean, what a defense. They had everything. That had map flips, that had individual plays, that had slip-ups from you. I mean, that was absolutely crazy, man.
I mean, yeah, and there was almost a symmetry about it, right? If both teams cap point A so incredibly fast, but then point B, they just get stalled out time, and again, not able to make the progress they're looking for. And I like Tred Gaming, for their defense specifically, we just need to talk about the level of aggression they displayed. They just seemed to not care they were on defense. They were more than happy to flip it on its head, be the ones initiating every single time. It really just put them, by and large ahead in a lot of those fights.
I think a lot of the players just play on teams that do like to W key quite a lot, and it's really working out for them. I think the really great thing is, rather than just the aggression, is the timing, right? It's catching rotations, it's pushing on numbers advantage spots, and it's going early when you know that you're behind an ult to not give your opponents a chance to set up. I mean, this decision-making has been perfect. I don't know quite who's doing the shot calling, be it Prash, Tred, or somebody else, but whoever it is, I mean, I tip my cap to you, because this is absolutely bonkers. I feel like I'm watching like a mad scientist in their laboratory. I think we've got a short break. coming up while we wait for everyone to collect their breaths. But when we're back, we will have Flashpoint. Will TredGamingEsports be able to close it out in 3 and cement their rematch with Pop Friend or Everfrost Esports to be able to throw a map in the ring?
Caught in this was so lost, deep in it, can't stop. I'm forever the one you call. Let's free fall. Let's free fall. Let's free fall.
Welcome on back, everybody. We have the continuation of this match here, and we thought it would be a pretty solid affair between these two teams, Spectrion, but currently right now, Tred Gaming, they're 2-0, and they're definitely showing that confidence behind them.
I mean, most definitely. They had a bit of a slip up. I mean, according from the horse's mouth themselves, they were saying that comms got a little bit too lax, they're having a little bit too much fun with it, but they focus up on the defense and play one of the best ice seconds that I've seen in a hot second. Some great aggressive calling coming out from Tred to just keep their opponents permanently on the back foot. And now Everfrost Esports. I mean, they're playing on one of Tred Gaming's favorite maps here. Surabas are going to be coming up next. And I gotta say, this could spell curtains for the Everfrost Esports run.
It could indeed, but never say never. I mean, Everfrost, they picked this for a reason, despite the memes that Captain Prash will have you believe that this is home turf territory, if you will. Yeah, it's just going to be a confident pick for both squads. You know, in terms of Flashpoint, who doesn't enjoy a little bit of the, Servasa? You go to New Junk City if you want to, mix it up a little bit, get a little bit creative. But I think Servasa here, just both squads that are going to know the map layout, know the points really well, and just sort of continue to slam into each other with these Ramacha looks. And I don't see anything changing.
Yeah, neither do I. I think that for Tred Gaming Esports, they're winning. They don't really need to change anything ever. And from Everfrost, this is kind of what I've scrimmed and I've practiced all this time. And at that point, it's just, they're in chat already. They're in chat already. I see our observers have very cleverly positioned the orange rocks. We can't really read what they're saying. But I can see they're getting funky with it. We're out here exactly the same strats. Kurama wants to go for the TP. Tred doesn't, so S6J will have some timing on Kurama. The rest of Everfrost, though, the same could be said for them. So this core of Tricky, Sona, and the rest of them needs to make some work done. Reisu actually over to the comfort pick of that Kiriko. So that means more angles control, less frontline trading. Takuno, his BAP, I think, has always been his favorite. So we'll see what he can get done with that.
Yeah, and maybe that extra edge of survivability could be the name of the game here. Kurama already putting some damage into these supports here, making them feel the pressure here. Captain Prash incredibly low in this Lucio duel with the Tracer, trying to help out here, but the pick doesn't. Prash able to get back to the rest of the squad. Meanwhile, Tred Gaming drops incredibly low here. But, it's actually going to be the first pick coming through perfectly onto Tekuno. Tricky comes up big on this Sojourn here. No longer that Cassidy in play here. And it's just going to be Tred standing on point, waiting for death. No other options, no other recourse here, as it will be Everfrost getting the first cap.
I think I have been more impressed by Tricky Sojourn than his Cassidy, at least today. It feels like with the railguns, you can get a little bit more done. You can get a little bit more pressure, more frags, what have you. So I think it's great seeing him back on the pick, mirroring out Gucci once again. As well, I mean, a crazy early pick coming through there. They were able to snowball. Tred Gaming will be back in time, that's right. But Reisu, 75% of it is seeing a rush, means that if Everfrost play for this rush will have no answer.
No answer indeed here. So now poking at range is Tricky here, trying to find the charge for another railgun to come through. Meanwhile, Sone able to just hold the point for the time being here, but it is going to be a pulse bomb out from Kurama to start this fight. Of course, the immortality field from Tekuno. Now Sone has to use the Nemesis form in order to try to make sure there's some level of sustain here, but the Kitsune Rush really helps put a pin in this fight here. Tred Gaming, they lose Tekuno, and that should just be the end of the fight for them.
Yeah, they don't really have a chance once Takuna goes down. They want to repressure, they beat, and Gucci hits a railgun. There's a chance here, Megalass.
Yes, indeed, 4v4 situation, but somebody's got to get onto the objective market. It won't be touched. Kurama comes up massively, killing both Tred and SXJ, making a third on the Captain Prash here. And Everfrost Esports, they picked this map for a reason. They don't seem to be done yet.
No, most definitely no. That's first blood taken, and Tred's flaming his DPS already. Simon, sorry for you, man, but Kurama did just hit a 3k on you. I mean, right now, Everfrost Esports just seem a little bit more comfortable. As the best way of describing it, defensive positioning is a good look for him. And Takuna hasn't really been in a position to properly leverage this Baptiste. Here on Ruins should be a little bit easier with this window. I mean, sync up with a one-shot combo with a railgun could be an easy way into this fight, but we'll see exactly what they elect to do as these two Rams again begin to clash.
They clash against each other in the back pocket is going to be As Annihilation coming closer and closer to be online here. The sound barrier now out from Rod FD to try to help live through this window, but the overclock now being committed here is going to remove all of that shield health, but Gucci is going to be found out before any damage can really be done here. Captain Prash incredibly low, Kurama not willing to let that pick slip away, and despite the advantage that Tred had, Everfrost again get a nice point cap.
I don't think there was ever a huge advantage here for Tred Gaming, actually. I mean, down the beat, because of Captain Prash's choice to invest it earlier, it means that they just have no answer to when Rod FD decides to hit the beat and turn the tempo to 11. So they just get ran over. Even with the overclock trying to slow them down, they find no answer. And Gucci on the cast once again looks to slow them down, looks to play closer ranges, pulse on misses for Kurama, so we into a neutral now.
Yep, and now with this overclock on the other side here, it is going to be met with the Annihilation from Tred, just trying to create some damage, get that Sojourn off the rest of their squad here. Zone going to be removed, but it's actually going to be traded out. Kurama manages to find Tred after the Annihilation wars off here. So now 4v4 situation, Captain Prash drops incredibly low, but it'll be SXJ coming up big, removing the Kiriko from the fight. Reisu no longer here, but it's continuing to be traded here. Gucci out of the fight, Tricky incredibly low though, not able to come up with that magic a second time, and SXJ with the help of those supports is able to get this point flipped finally for Tred Gaming.
That they are, but it's taken them a while to get any sort of real progress, right? And when it's all said and done, it takes still an absolute scrap for them to clean up. They will be able to get back to the objective, and to their credit, their ult scenario isn't actually too bad. They'll have double support ults as long as they play some damage onto Tred, which I'm sure they will. If I'm Everfrost Esports, I don't need to go early, but I probably will, just to catch them off guard, and yeah, that's considered rush hit already.
Yes, indeed, the Kitsune Rush forcing everybody to run for the hills on the side of Tred Gaming. They managed to kite it for the time being here, but now the point pressure is going to come through from Everfrost, and they both sides having a sound barrier ready to expend here. It's going to be Takuno, actually, though, putting out the Amplification Matrix first here. Pulse Bomb ends up going wide from Kurama, doesn't find what they want. Captain Prash has to use that sound barrier to try to keep everybody alive, and they managed to do just that. A Deadeye combined with the Pulse Bomb will remove Sone from the fight, and the rest of Everfrost Esports, they're sent running for the hills here, but I don't know if they'll get anybody back onto this point before Ruins is capped.
I mean, they should be able to get a touch. It looks like Kurama has managed to slip the net a little bit, so should be able to get onto the objective. Tred takes care of Broad FD though, and there's no real chance here for Everfrost Esports, especially with this lovely mark from Gucci. Though there is Kurama on the objective, what more can we see?
Yeah, no, it just has to be given up. Kurama being hunted down by SXJ, finally found here, and so now it is going to be a bit of a neutral fight, but it's all Tred Gaming in the kill feed here as they tie us up 1-1 here on Cervasa.
I'm still perfectly in love with how they played that last fight, actually. Kiting that Kitsune Rush was everything there because it means that they could play double supports into just a beat. As well, they get the later beat. So from both the supports, they find more value. It's almost impossible not to convert after playing like that. So we flip on to a new point now. Already control here for Tred Gaming Esports. And though they don't have anyone who can access the high ground to provide some good off-angle pressure, they can just death ball up and take the 5-on-5.
Yeah, and so that's kind of seeming to be their plan here for the time being, as Kurama's doing a bit of poking on this side here, met by SXJ. This Chaser duel, it's been dynamic to watch so far here, as it takes a lot of the fight. The Lucio dropping incredibly low. Captain Prash manages to live. The Kuno puts the heals on in time here, and now a Pulse Bomb from SXJ, a little bit ambitious. It doesn't come up with what you want, and now the Kitsune Rush is across the entire point, and Gucci's Deadeye is not going to be able to find anything except a railgun to the face from Tricky. So now, missing a DPS, Tred is going to try to invest this Annihilation to get back into it, as well as the sound barrier here. So everyone's looking nice and healthy, but they haven't been able to convert it into a pick just yet. Meanwhile, Tricky throwing in those railguns into the Ramatra over and over. Chekuno doing everything they can to try to keep them alive, but SXJ's gone to work in the backline, remove 2 from the fight, and Tred, surviving it all, manages to get the picks, and Everfrost Esports, they're sent reeling.
Dude, I love the brawl fundamentals we're seeing out of Tred Gaming Esports. I mean, they wait for Everfrost to get in as deep as possible, even giving up a kill before they actually hit their Q buttons. When they do, Everfrost have already invested, they've already committed, and they have no answer to the added sustainability, the added pressure that the Annihilation and Beat combined puts out. Everfrost will be able to push in, and they do have advantage here now, but it's Tred Gaming who have momentum on their side.
Yes, indeed. So now, again, we're on this off angle, but SXJ removed before a Tracer duel can even occur here. Means that it should be all good to go for Everfrost to continue to surge forward here. They found the Baptiste. Immortality Field forced Takuno will live for the time being, but still incredibly low, knowing a Tracer can come harass them at any moment, but it'll actually be tricky to get that final blow. They'll be able to take Tred off of the point as well, and Everfrost, they flip it back in their favor.
And that's the power of a Sojourn. That's why we want to see Tricky on that Sojourn, because a single click of the mouse, you've got a 5v4, and lovely work to get the cleanup from that point. 50% going to be accrued, and we'll be able to at least equalize in percentage. TredGamingEsports, though, will be back quick, and this Deadeye could well get work done. Sonic hasn't really been able to kite these as well as you'd like in this series, so it could will be a very significant chunk of damage onto this round once again.
Yes, indeed, as now TredGaming, they're walking forward here. Another Deadeye from Gucci. They're going to have to invest in Mortality Field. Does manage to find out onto Tricky here, but the Annihilation will trade it, make it a 4v4 situation here. And Rod FD went into the backline, took Takuno out of the fight. That means no sustained healing. Captain Crash dies minutes away from the sound barrier, and Sone's Annihilation will annihilate the entirety of TredGaming. Take this next point.
Not the end of the world. SXJ claims he blinks off the map here. I have to see that in slow motion replay to get any sort of confirmation, but it means that it is currently 2-1 to Everfrost Esports. They could, well, take a reverse actually, but there still has to be a battle on Gardens for that to be so. TredGamingEsports will have the lead in terms of the check marks by a small margin here, but that will change very quickly once Tricky can charge into this overclock.
Yeah, and so already with positioning here on the Gardens is TredGaming, but the Kitsune Rush is going to try to change that here. Now all of that pressure coming again onto the Ramatra. That Pulse Bomb, it comes up, and Takuno has a perfect, Immortality Field again, but already still the rest of the team is there pounding down. Tred ends up popping the Annihilation, actually manages to find one onto Risu here. Will he even find onto Sone? So despite losing the Baptiste, again, another fight where Tred continues to come out ahead despite losing members.
And if I lost that fight, I'd be actually pretty angry if I was Kurama. I mean, that's great work. Absolutely working Takuno to take care of him. I mean, killing him through both Lamp and Beat is impressive as hell, and taking care of Tred as well to cherry on the cake. It doesn't matter. First caps here for TredGaming. They're going to get it to at least 50% before Everfrost have a chance to reflip. And that was every button pressed. This next fight almost entirely dry. Just a pulse run for SXJ, even remotely close. And with defensive position, it means TredGamingEsports should have this next fight in the bag.
Yeah, so heading on board here, SXJ has another Pulse Bomb ready to go, throws it in, doesn't end up connecting onto anything there, as it is just going to continue to be this war back and forth here. Sone dropping incredibly low, though. Gonna have to get that Cleansing Suzu, as well as a lot of healing put into this Ramatra here, just to be able to live for the time being. Now the shoes on the other foot. Tred drops low, but SXJ has managed to remove Kurama from the fight, and now with the Deadeye here creating such zoning pressure, SXJ can go to work, and the Deadeye comes up massively, removes Tricky, Rod FD, and that'll be 2-2, heading to the final point of Palace here on Servasa.
Yeah, 2 shots from the 6th shooter, and that means the Everfrost Esports were 6 feet under. Great work coming through from the Cassidy once again. As you mentioned, Megalass, onto our 5th and final point, and TredGamingEsports going to start from a behind position, at least in terms of the check marks. They've got the positioning on the objective, clearing high ground, the name of the game here for Everfrost.
Name of the game here. Kurama throws the Pulse Bomb, but doesn't end up needing it. Able to take Gucci out with just raw damage here. So now Sone investing this Annihilation, pushing forward, trying to get more picks onto the side of TredGaming. Doesn't manage to come up with anything through the Annihilation here. So now having to pop the Nemesis Storm after the fact. Both teams using their sound barriers to try to sustain in this fight. Tred dropping incredibly low, will be the first one found out in this engagement. Now Takuno gonna feel that pressure here. SXJ does manage to find one onto Tricky, but I think that Tracer is only going to be able to find that one pick, at least for the time being. And this should be Everfrost Esports getting the first point cap.
Yeah, looks like it will. I mean, a couple things went wrong there from TredGaming. Obviously, the elephant in the room is Gucci just dying, first and foremost. That's really not what you want to see. But 2, but if Captain Prash had a bit of an earlier beat, and though I didn't quite see it, I'm not sure if it caught the entirety of TredGamingEsports. Rod FD's does, however, and Everfrost Esports able to convert off those numerous advantages. Annihilation unmirrored could find success. Kurama could get caught here.
Yeah, It could indeed here as a Kitsune Rush comes out from Risu, but Zone is going to be able to find onto Gucci, and this aggression coming out from Everfrost. They're willing to play off the point because they know they can find these cleanup picks. Takuno missing from the fight now. It's just Captain Prash alive. A bit of a flip coming through. Cheeky from SXJ, but it'll be a flip right back here.
Yeah, I don't like the decision of SXJ to stay on the objective. Your extra percentage doesn't matter. I'd rather have you alive. But on the whole, it does mean that throughout all this time, Everfrost Esports isn't gaining percentage. So nice work from him. They can hold this forward space, can the rest of TredGaming Esports. No Tracer isn't a huge issue for them. And with the ultimates, they can turn the tempo up if they see an opportunity.
Yeah, as they're trying to now, Tred Gaming walking forward here. The Amplification Matrix, it's going to force the Immortality Field. That Pulse Bomb straight on top of it. SXJ manages to remove Kurama from the fight. Tred's Annihilation ends up coming with not a whole heck of a lot. Meanwhile, Zone building incredibly close to theirs here, so they're trying to put that pressure through. But Zone already activated it. Those arms are crossed, daring anybody from Tred Esports to come forward here. But Gucci and SXJ, they want to come forward. They want these pits. They're not done with this map just yet, and this should be a flip for Tred Gaming.
That's the kitchen sink thrown out, though. That is everything from the coffers from both these teams. And last fight territory here, at least for Everfrost Esports, means that they know they don't have to play at the pace of Tred Gaming. Everfrost can charge into both supports and essentially just win off the back of that ult pressure. Firstly, Tred Gaming need to finish off Captain Prash's beat, and then they need to use it reactively, because if they use it aggressively, then Everfrost Esports, if they can survive, just win out the map.
Yes, indeed. Everfrost season and championship dreams on the line here. They can't afford to let this map slip through their fingers. Heading towards this fight, we're going to see the Kitsune Rush come out. And already, Sone able to walk forward here, force everybody from Tred back. And now with the point pressure here, they're going to be able to get the flip, force an overtime situation, and they have to dare anybody from Tred to come contest. That sound barrier is invested from both sides now, making everybody nice and sustainable. The objective is going to be important contesting here, though. Back and forth the trades go. Takuno removed, Gucci down. Even though they were able to take out the Ramatra, it's just 3 members here. Actually, a flip manages to come through, but they lose SXJ, they lose Captain Prash. So I think while Tred can stand on the point for now, Everfrost Esports, they take the map and they keep themselves alive.
And they draw Flush Blood in the series, so no chance in hell of a touch. TredGaming Esports. Very, very close, but no cigar for them. Everfrost Esports, most definitely the stronger team on Survivor. Less mistakes, especially in the beginning. When it comes to the end, they're just in a better spot ults-wise. I mean, we spoke about how the ults are just so strong for Everfrost Esports with those double spalls, and I have to say, it's great play from Tred Gaming to disengage that Kitsune Rush. They needed to do that, because otherwise they just end up losing the ult trade, but it still gives up space that is super valuable, especially on a sub-map like this. And because of that, then it just is a rough scenario. No two ways about it. Beat doesn't catch SXJ, and no, it's not eventually what happens. Even though it's Takuno who dies first, it's another scenario where you maybe would have liked something else to go a little bit differently. All of Tred Gaming just corralled into that corner. It was great work from Everfrost Esports. That's why they were able to take the map. Now going to be a Tred Gaming pick for the first time, and what could be their best chance to close out this series.
Yeah, you definitely want to try to close this one out on push if you're Tred Gaming, right? Because heading into map 5, Everfrost Esports will have all of that momentum behind them for the reverse sweep. And, you know, it just comes down to you finally have map pick for the first time in this series. You're able to go somewhere that you truly feel comfortable. And, I mean, there's so many options to choose from, right? With all of our different push maps, there's really, if you want to play that Ramatra mirror, I feel like maybe Coliseo would be the best pick. Maybe?
I don't know. I think probably, yeah. I had to give it some thought, though, because typically, because Reisu is going to like playing the Kiriko a lot more than Takuno will, then Kiriko allows you to fight your flank angle a lot more with your Tracer, which could be an advantage. On the whole, though, people kind of go so soft there. Anyway, they probably won't matter. I think you have options on your other submap or your other types of push. I think Coliseo kind of forced into it. So I think it is probably your best pick. I think, though, it does mean that we will see Tricky be going towards that Sojin almost 100% of the time. And I think, again, has been maybe having a bit of an advantage over Gucci when it comes to Soj v Soj. Gucci's Deadeyes especially have been absolutely stellar, but other than that, it has been more consistent damage rather than just finding the picks like a Sojins want to do. So I do think a Coliseo is a very fair pick for them, but whether it's the best pick, I'm also not quite sure.
Yeah, and so it's just sort of that debate, right, of where you want to go. Like you said, Tread Gaming, they openly admitted on Ike while they were doing a little bit of the silly, and they've been a team that's been playing with a lot of confidence and stuff, so it'll be interesting to see, regardless of where we end up going, if this map win for Everfrost is going to shake them at all, or if they're going to be able to sort of maintain that same resolve, that same composure they had before, because the second you stop joking around, the second you slip, I mean, that's already letting your enemy know that, hey, they were able to do something, to rattle you, and that's just going to give more and more momentum over to Everfrost Esports. But it seems like the map pick has been solidified. You and I are both wrong. There's no Italy on the field. We're heading to Esperanza.
Yeah, I think that's also fair enough. I think it gives you some more options. So if you are feeling like going towards a different tank, then now is kind of the option. Now is the time, as it were. If I'm Everfrost Esports, I don't really see them changing. It's never been their thing to try a bunch of different strats. They pick what's meta, especially if it's going to end up being a kind of poke brawl hybrid, and they're going to stick to it, right? Tread Gaming, I mean, they're not a team who swims together a crazy amount. I mean, these players a lot of the time have other commitments, but they're here in CGL for a good time, and they're definitely having fun, but they'd like to win while they're here as well. They could go towards a Winston, could just keep on playing this mirror, and honestly, I think that might just be their best choice. No reason to split your practice time. And I think we haven't actually seen much flexibility from Tread, at least in this series. We know he's got it in his pool, but super happy just to play the Ram time and time again. I think it has just been some stall picks when necessary to break that streak. But we need a bit of a pause as we have a bit of a technical issue, at least in the lobby. Of course, we can still see the map screen right now, but we're going to have a bit of time to chill, relax, bring the energy down after that last map, because that was pretty intense.
Yeah, and it's always intense when you're, Everfrost Esports, it's, do or die situation for them, right? There was no option. It was win Cervasa or your season ends on Cervasa. And just to have that level of pressure, I mean, it really depends on the competitor, right? There's some people who they can crack under it for sure, but other teams, potentially like Everfrost Esports, as we saw, they can definitely shine through and be like, and just make the most of these last chances. But I mean, something we could talk about while we were waiting for this. I mean, you and I, as well as I think Gio in the caster chat, pretty much for the past week or so, we've been hyping up this EU bracket, and it's been so amazing to see just all these great teams going against each other time and again.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even teams that we don't have here have just given us pretty fantastic games, all things considered. But here, I mean, the game that we've got on our table has been pretty strong so far. We've seen some great moves out of both these teams. TredGamingEsports obviously have a bit of a lead so far, but Everfrost Esports have struck back and could continue to do so. You mentioned the pressure, though, of your season ending here. That's going to be with Everfrost Esports for the rest of the series, no matter what, right? I mean, it's TredGamingEsports who are on series points. They could make it to the grand finals with just the next 10 minutes, give or take. So there's a lot of pressure on them still. We'll see if that makes Diamonds or Ash out of them. But, I mean, a team like Everfrost is used to playing under the pressure and the bright lights, given their runs in OWCS before. So I'm not super stressed about their mentals. Not too much, at least. I think that performing under this high level, though, is going to take a toll on anyone. So their endurance, I do want to bring into a question a little bit.
Yeah, and it's just going to be that massive question of their endurance. The longer this series goes for both these squads, right? You could start getting tired, fatigued the longer it goes on. Maybe you weren't expecting it, especially because we have to remember this is an EU game that they ended up just choosing to play late. If I'm not mistaken, it's currently 11 p.m. over in the UK. 2300, I believe, is what they say on that side of the pond.
No one said that. No one said that.
No one does 23? I thought y'all did military time.
No, in like your phone, yeah. But you would never say it's 2300. That's just... I don't think I've ever heard them say that. It's just 11 p.m. Yeah.
Okay, so it says 23, but y'all you choose to say 11. Okay, so what I'm hearing is the entirety of that island is just wrong. Got it. That's all I needed to know.
I'm going to book a ticket to DreamHack Dallas just so I can fight you. Booking it in now.
What's crazy is I won't be at DreamHack Dallas. But listen, I would gladly go there just to fight. It'll be a great exhibition.
True.
But
CGL Fight Club when?
Listen, Fight Club, it'll be great. But the only fight that we're going to have on our stream today is these two teams. Now that Rod has rejoined the lobby, they're both loaded up. They're both on the meta. Are you surprised?
No, not really. There's not much reason to be funky with it. If I'm Everfrost again, it's what I scrimmed. If it's Trade Gaming, it's largely what I'm winning on. And now you have your own map pick. You should be feeling a little bit more comfortable. Running out once again, and remember, Trade Gaming as well, going to have map picks for the rest of the series. So a lot of pressure onto Everfrost to perform the Symmetra interaction the same as we've seen before. SXJ has the timing, has the space, and has to have a bit of a leg up on Kurama if that's the sacrifice that they're going to make.
Absolutely. So now Everfrost Esports and Tred Gaming meeting once again, slamming into each other here, waiting for this robot to unlock here. The pushing starting to begin. Tred Gaming trying to be the initial aggressors here. Tred drops incredibly low in the HP pool, has to just remove themselves from the equation, just backing up a little bit here. And now it is going to be Everfrost Esports attempting to go on the offense, but it seems like Tred Gaming, they're still applying pressure. All these health bars dropping incredibly low on both sides. And it seems like it's just going to continue to be this back and forth. Both teams waiting for that opening. They're just sort of licking their lips in anticipation, trying to find something here. Continuing to slam into each other. Sone incredibly low here. This Ramatra will get the healing, though, from Risu on this Baptiste. And it might even be ultimates that start out this fight. Immortality Field from Risu ends up going down. Doesn't find anything. Deadeye from Gucci will be the first thing to find a kill here. Removing Sone, then removes Kurama. And SXJ will be traded out on the other side. But the damage has been done. Tred Gaming will push this bot first.
That they will. That was a long deadlock there. Thought I was watching Colosseo for a second. But when all's said and done, it's Tred Gaming who get the start. I mean, watching the health bars there, it looks like all the focus fire of Tred Gaming was going straight into Sona. Everfrost a little bit more split, and because of that, they are able to eventually find the elimination on this Ramatra once again. Pulsum won't find a thing, but Everfrost Esports will be given control of the robot, at least for now.
Yeah, 32 meters, all they're able to gain for now. Now to Deadeye on the other side here. They're trying to put pressure on it. Doesn't end up coming with a lot. Captain Prash and Rod FD both investing those sound barriers here. Trying to live through Sunday's annihilation here. Tred still having that one in the back pocket, but Takuno has been removed from the fight. Kurama has managed to make sure that Baptiste is no longer for this world here. So Risu now investing the Amplification Matrix almost as a victory dance to help secure the rest of this fight, but Tricky ends up going down. But despite that, I think that it should be all Everfrost from here on out. They should have the picks to get the bot moving on their side.
They will, on the whole, but Annihilation, in this next fight means that I'm a little bit worried about Everfrost's ability to, A, get the lead, but 2, even win out a consecutive fight. So if I'm Tred Gaming, I'm still pretty confident with my chances. 9 also, of course, expended in that previous engagement. So when all's said and done, the player with the 1 left is going to be at a pretty significant advantage. They just want to clear high ground with it, and fair enough, we'll see how Everfrost responds.
I feel like Deja Vu, we're once again assaulting this high ground with Annihilation, but this time Risu is not long for this world, already removed so fast. Tred Gaming manages to move on the high ground, take the bot back, and keep their payload going.
I mean, Everfrost just can't do anything other than hope that one of the DPS just finds a miracle frag, maybe Risu as well. I mean, it's always a nice thing to happen, but it's not something you can force consecutively, and so Tred Gaming go with really the only plan that they have available to them, and Everfrost just are forced to reset. Now, still not a great scenario in terms of the check marks, but Gucci from this high ground going to be deadly with or without the Deadeye, and it's getting closer and closer here, Megalass.
Yes, indeed, and also being able to set up on this high ground, right? It's going to require a tremendous effort from Everfrost Esports to dislodge this Cassidy here. You're seeing them all rotate up, and immediately that Deadeye is in response. So now the entirety of Everfrost Esports is contained within this little corridor, but a Pulse Bomb coming from Takuno, forcing out Takuno's Immortality Field, I should say, as SXJ manages to kill Kurama for being overextended. Now that stick comes through on the other side, but the Immortality Field manages to keep the Lucio in this one for the time being. Sone investing that Annihilation here, but the sound barrier was good from Captain Prash, keeping everybody nice and healthy for the time being. So now that's going to run out, heading on into this fight as it continues here, fighting. It's going to be Tred continuing to push forward here through. Unfortunately, just not enough damage coming through from that Amplification Matrix from Takuno, so it's actually going to be Everfrost Esports surging forward here, going to be taking out pick after pick, and it should be Everfrost getting the cleanup here and getting the fight.
It's looking pretty close to them being able to get all the cleanup here, yeah, but still TredGamingEsports have been able to maintain their lead. And I want to say, Megalass, we're halfway through the map, and neither team has even broached 50 meters yet. This is so back and forth. Trade Gaming, I mean, that time did very much struggle. Again, it was a bit of a late beat from Prash that did allow a lot of that advantage to come through from Everfrost. But now, I mean, a window from the high ground is strong for sure, but if Trade Gaming can play into an Annihilation again, because the repeat of the fight for long past.
Yeah, and so if you're Everfrost Esports, you might want to try to win this one faster, not give Tred the chance to build toward that Annihilation and let them find success with it like they have before. But it seems like that door is rapidly closing here, as it is just going to be a contest on the bot on this corner here. Tred Gaming is not able to hide, SXJ finding their death at the hands of Risu through that amplification matrix, all of that healing onto Sone that cannot remove the Ramato here. Tred out for you there. It's mirrored on the other side, and Everfrost Esports, they should be pushing towards potentially the checkpoint.
I gotta agree with you there. Lead flip 2, I think, is even perhaps more pivotal. So Tred Gaming Esports now firmly on the back foot. I will say that typically it's pretty hard to attack throughout this kind of area of the map. Your options that the defenders have are absolutely myriads. But if I am as well, Everfrost Esports, sorry, I don't actually need to push past the choke. They're just going to sit on high ground and wait for Trade Gaming to push into them. So Everfrost don't have to drop. They can give over even the push for free.
Yeah, and now you're seeing the entirety of Tred. They're sort of rotating up to that high ground, and it's just going to be this rotation back and forth, right? Everfrost can now just put themselves onto the objective as they're walking forward here. Gucci going to have that Deadeye held out there, just waiting to find a pick. Manages to connect onto Tricky there. So now Tekuno getting their hands dirty, showing what a Baptiste can really do. Risu will take out Gucci, but that's all Everfrost gets in this fight.
That's super comfortable for them. Actually, go 1-for-1 in the checkmark trade. They got control of the robot once again. Now, Everfrost will be able to recontest before they end up getting the lead, going back the other way, being of Trade Gaming Esports. But again, window, high ground, we've seen it work out once before, and Takuna, I've got to say, has some pretty strong individuals.
Yeah, and so that's what you're going to be hoping to see if you're Tred Gaming. But we're already met in the middle. Those forward spawns from Everfrost really going to help take this back to a center pillar fight here. Both sides not wanting to peek each other, just giving the respect to either side here, as it is going to be a rotation coming around the side for Everfrost. Now with some railguns in their backline, as well as a sound barrier to keep everybody nice and healthy. They'll connect onto Tekuno, removing that Baptiste from the fight before that amplification matrix can ever come out here. And there's going to be more and more damage put in. You're going to see Tred finally fall here. But meanwhile, this whole time, the bot's been pushing. And if I'm not mistaken, there's just forward spawns just got activated for Tred Gaming.
It's been contested. 53 meters? I think you might be
53.5.
right, actually. Yeah, I think you're right. They get the forward spawns and Tred's typing once again. I will say, great decision-making from Everfrost, realizing that with the beat versus the window, they have to go first. And because they do, Takuna doesn't have a chance to window, and they do end up getting shut down. So forward spawns, though they were C9, it's still a lead for Everfrost, and it's still momentum on their side. Window to punish.
Yes, indeed, that amplification matrix out, just funneling everybody back, making sure Tred Gaming, they don't feel safe to peek out here. They're just going to have to wait out that amplification matrix here, as that bot is now back at the barricade, continuing to push forward with the help of Kurama. Takuno is going to push out with their own amplification matrix up on the high ground here. Sone forced to drop down to the low ground, but I don't think they seem to realize the Ramacho is behind them here. Now with this Annihilation putting in massive amounts of damage, Tred is removed from the fight at the hands of Risu, and this entire time the bot is still just moving.
I mean, there's nothing that you can even do. If I am Tred Gaming, you're kind of forced to take this fight, but nothing's really going in their favor. The bot is getting closer and closer to finishing it out here. I'm going to say, minute and a quarter left on the clock. Tred Gaming Esports firmly on the back foot now.
Yeah, they're going to have an uphill battle for sure here, as they're, re-engaging into this fight, swinging back and forth. But it's going to be on Tred Gaming to sort of be the initiators here. They want to find something, right? Tred walking forward, dropping incredibly low. That Ramacho needs some sort of help, some sort of sustain here. It is now the Deadeye out from Gucci. It's found so many before, and it will find another under Rod FD. And now just the raw bullets from the Cassidy just going in over and over again. That sound barrier from Captain Prash had to come out at some point during the fight to keep Tred alive, but this bot will flip and Tred will try to fight it back.
It's not the end of the world. They've got started at about the right time. They have plenty of work to do. Everfrost will be able to recontest at about this middle mark, or maybe at the bridge at the extent of things, but still, they'll have that one, and then they have to win another probably 3 fights if I'm Tred Gaming to get the win on this map. It's a lot of work to do.
It's a lot of work indeed, and it'll be done mainly in overtime here. Everfrost Esports, they have a lot of control. They have a lot of power behind them here. As we enter overtime, it is now going to be this high ground held for Tred that they're on the push spot here. They're going to be turning this first corner. Amplification Matrix from Tekuno is going to be the first ult invested by either side. They're trying to put pressure on Sone, and they manage to do it before the sound barrier connects. Absolutely massive. Now that ult ends up going to waste here. Gucci incredibly low to caught a railgun as well as some damage from the Tracer here. Ends up falling after Tricky though, and that immortality field ends up not being long for this world here. So now Tred going to be throwing those fists on the bot. Kurama removed from the fight, and this bot is still moving.
Rough scenario, investing and not finding anything. This bot is getting closer and closer. I'd say we're probably in about last fight territory here, though it will be close. Rasu still has to respawn before Everfrost Esports take a fight, and so this bot, yeah, a last fight for sure. Gucci close to a Deadeye could be able to charge this up, and with the sustainability tools, the beat and the annihilation combined, Tred Gaming can live on the objective for a long, long while.
Yes, indeed, but that overclock is trying to be popped. Meanwhile, the annihilation already out, but it seems like it's all Everfrost right now. They're popping up kill after kill in their favor here, and who would have guessed it? Two hotly contested teams. They're not done. They want the map 5.
That came so close, and in a series that started off looking like Tred Gaming were all map off a reverse sweep here, Megalass. It's so close, you could almost say so. We'll see if Tred Gaming are able to stabilize in the third and final, but I gotta say, these last two maps have been so close, so back and forth. These two teams seem like a perfect match for each other. But, I mean, just getting a little bit closer in that kind of attacking push and being able to keep sneaking progress while you were battling with the rest of Tred Gaming was one of the big difference makers there. Tred Gaming were happy to take the fight, push the bot as almost an afterthought. But Everfrost were always having a member at least on that robot, making sure they maximize their presence, even if they're losing out a couple of fights. So because of that, they get the win on push. But that means that we have Escort coming up next. That's going to be such a different ball game entirely. I have no idea who's going to win this series.
Yeah, it's going to be hotly contested. One map to decide, who's heading to that grand finals. But that map will have to be decided after another quick break here as we give both teams one last chance to recuperate heading into the final map. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the other side of this break. There was no other way for a series like this to end. A trip to Grand Finals on the line. We had to go to Map 5. Both these squads want it. They want their revenge match against Pot Friend. And, I mean, we've just been treated to some amazing maps so far from both of these teams.
Oh, most definitely. And it has come so damn close. What we have learnt, though, is we have the location of our final map. We know where the final clash between these two teams is going to be for a spot at the EU PC Open Tier Grand Finals, Route 66. Going to be where both these teams elect to take that particular battle. And I gotta say, it's not a map we get to see a crazy amount of. It looks like the teams are going to be exactly the same. No substitutions for either side. Normally, Route 66, with these super long sightlines, is going to be very focused on their hit scans, right? Whether you can provide Soj rails or not is a huge differentiator. So right now, with Trekkie in the lead here, this is the perfect time for Gucci to step up. It is also an opportunity to maybe change up that tank frame. We've seen a lot of Ramacha, but it's a little bit harder here. Maybe not unplayable for sure, but if you wanted to play a Doom, a Monkey, a Bull, what have you, all of those can be a little bit more viable on a map like Route 66, where playing around the high ground is going to be so pivotal. So room for some change here, if that's what you're looking for. Because TredGamingEsports, you've been in the back row for a little while now, and maybe some change is just what they need.
Yeah, and that reverse sweep pressure is, of course, looming. You know, you don't ever want to lose in a reverse sweep fashion. It could be brutal. And I think it is poetic. We're heading to Route 66. It's almost like an old Western. We have to head out to the desert to really get this duel settled once and for all. And I mean, yeah, like you said, we've been on a mirror for a majority of this series. The only difference and variations being sometimes opting in for the Sojourn, sometimes opting in for the Cassidy here. These longer sightlines, I feel like the Sojourn should reign supreme, but, I mean, so far in terms of comfort picks, really, I mean, Gucci has seemed a lot more comfortable on that Cassidy, so only time is going to tell if that's what they choose to run with, or, like you said, maybe this is where you unveil the secret weapon, you show that you can play dive or something of that nature, because I mean, yeah, both of these teams, their whole season on the line, everything they played for, it all gets settled here.
I do think part of seeing the Gucci Cassidy is particularly because of I think TredGaming's plan going into this has looked to be a lot of shooting Sona, like as much as possible. He's had a very, very rough time on that remarch, not by any particular fault of his own, but just because everybody's always pressuring him on that front line. Cass is a little bit better at providing that tank pressure than a Sojourn is, but dying a lot less has been Sona, has been able to make that adaptation. So we'll see if that pick keeps on coming out, if TredGaming's plan is to still just bully the remarcher, because if it is, we'll have to wait and see if we see success, at least. And yep, we said it. Let's dive.
They are in the attacker spawn, so I would hesitate to block this in. But I think the defense might be predicting a dive here. The Roadhog and the Zen have both left the spawn room. They are in play for Everfrost.
I don't really know what to call this one. The word Taker comes to mind. I think Roach is really bad right now. The running Zen is normally rough because the Xenios doesn't really have any form of protection other than sitting next to any other large threat. Tred is just going to 3-2-1 Rod like 4 times in a row and he's going to swap, is my prediction. Sona has a lot of work to do marking these dives to stop that from happening.
Yes, indeed. So it is going to be the dive versus the Roadhog. We'll have to see who comes out on top here. As Tred, they're just going to push this payload the traditional little bit of distance before a high ground fight can really ensue. Meanwhile, you know, bit of a Tracer duel poking each other back and forth for control of that Mega Pack here. Ultimately, both of them deciding to opt out of it for the time being. And now it is just this poke back and forth. A nice hook connects onto Tred here, dropping that Winston low, but the healing is there to get that, you know, Monkey back up to full health here. So now that dive comes through onto the backline like we predicted, right? They're trying to look for Rod FD, but they don't manage to find it just yet. Actually, Tred ends up being the first pick before it's traded out by Gucci here. So 4v4 situation, but missing your tank. The hook ends up going wide here. And it seems like for now, Tred's going to continue to push, but Everfrost, they shouldn't be done in this fight yet.
Tred respawns quicker as well, so TredGamingEsports, as long as they don't die, are happy to stay in. A kill onto Razor, picture perfect. It means there's no one here to help out Rod, who's on a sliver of HP and taken down, yeah. Takes them a little bit longer than they would have wanted, in part because SXJ misses the jump onto the high ground. The pulse from Kuruma finds nothing and should be cleaned up by the assembled members of TredGamingEsports. Tricky can lurk around with a railgun, but just doesn't have too much lob at that, and so it's going to be TredGamingEsports who get this payload getting closer and closer to the cap. It looks like a contest will come through from Rod on the low grounds.
A contest comes through here before this first point can be done, and Tred is going to have to respect the Roadhog back up here for the time being. This pulse bomb comes out from SXJ, doesn't manage to connect onto anything here, and now Gucci actually finds the first pick onto Tricky here, following up on that damage beautifully, and so now already short-handed. Everfrost Esports, they're trying to make it work, but Sone removed from the fight. Rod FD on the Lucio just can't make it happen, and that'll be point A done.
And, of course, Everfrost Esports have now moved Rod over to that Lucio. And we're seeing it, the monkey mirror. I told you, monkey pilled. It's the strat. It's the future. But now, having the full mirror, it does allow Everfrost the, you know, an even playing field, at least in terms of the neutrals. But TredGaming have been in this cup the whole time. So they're significantly ahead in pretty much every ultimate overclock pop Tricky dead.
Yes, indeed. Gucci's just looking for more picks here. They're going to converge onto this rock where the Kiriko and the Lucio were hiding. Rod FD not long for this world, as well as just going to be more and more follow-up here. But TredGaming, I mean, they've got some good momentum going.
That they most definitely do. They only spent the one for that push, and that is, again, Everfrost bullied into spawn. They're just looking to hard bully this choke point by the looks of this head, sitting close.
Yeah, so now the dueling Kitsunes both ended up on that high ground there. Super interesting, but Tred managed to get a pick on the Tricky before propping the Primal here. So now just jumping back in with all this HP, ready to do some damage, trying to find the target, tries to go on the Kiriko before the TP comes through, but Kurama actually hunted down by SXJ, and this payload is just going to keep on moving. And
Tred might not be evil OW, but still finds some value on the Winston with the Kitsune Rush, especially that Primal feels a little bit superfluous when all's said and done, but this car, can they even touch?
They touch just barely here. Both sound barriers expended. Means that nobody's going to have that extra health as this fight persists here. Sone going to be the first one misted again here. Tred going to be blown up on the other side though, so it's a 4v4 situation. Completely winnable for either side here. That pulse bomb is into the core of Everfrost, but it doesn't manage to come up with anything. Meanwhile, Tatuna wins the Kiriko duel in favor here, and it's all Tred all the time. point B is captured, we're heading into C.
4 minutes and a quarter, by the looks of things, is what we're calling all the time now. And I gotta say, this is a pretty strong tie bank now. Sona's bullied out as well. He has to leave. He's gonna have to get healed up, get a little bit closer towards that Kitsune rush. And if I'm TredGamingEsports, I mean, the name of the game is just pushing, but I want to play Gucci as aggressively as possible because this overclock is going to be necessary to mirror up Trickies.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely crucial here as this cart finally rounds the first corner. And yeah, it's going to be a dive here for Sunday, doesn't end up connecting onto the high ground here. Meanwhile, Tricky, feeling the pressure entirely here, manages to die before ever even having a chance to pop that overclock here. Now a Primal Rage in desperation coming out from Zona in a 3v5 situation. That Winston's health is being evaporated, though. It doesn't matter how much of it you have. Gucci's able to tear through. In Tred Gaming, they haven't been stopped.
I think Sona has looked really quite uncomfortable on this Winston, just really struggles to find points to make it work, and swaps off it now, moves over to the Manga, wants to make Tred's life in particular as hard as possible, but in such an old disadvantage. What can they really do here, Megalass?
They can only try to sustain as Gucci's going to pop the overclock first here. Now they're dueling on either side, but Captain Prash delivering that sound barrier, keeping everybody nice and healthy here. Tred drops incredibly low, has to jump out to get that mega health back. Meanwhile, dueling Kitsune rushes once again here is going to end up not delivering onto anything just yet. Finally, the first pick comes through. They manage to weather the storm. Everfrost takes out Tred, and it's just going to be another pick, taking Gucci out of the fight before Tricky ends up falling. But yeah, this should finally be a defensive hold for Everfrost.
Looks to me like some split target focus and some ults at inopportune times. When the background ults were coming through, I mean, the Kitsune Rush in particular, that's just when Tred was as low as possible. So he had to jump out to try and get that healing. That means there wasn't the main, I guess, user of the Kitsune Rush. He was out, and so just doesn't find really any value at all. When he goes back in, and the beats online for Roddy, they're able to out-sustain and eventually eliminate that Winston. So that's the best shot of TredGamingEsports now cast to that wayside. Now for 2 minutes, they're going to have to wait and see what they can find in its place.
Yeah, you're seeing this Malga just sort of fire onto Tred here, make that Winston's life a living hell. There's no other way to put it here. Tred tries to drive onto the high ground, ends up on the platform here, slowly moving backwards, as it is just going to be, you know, more of this poke back and forth here. Gucci has that railgun charged up, looking for a target to potentially deliver it onto here, but Tred now back on the focus here, getting so much damage pumped into them. This Winston Primal Rage is not able to deliver a whole hell of a lot here, as they just have to jump around to sustain. Meanwhile, the pulse bomb from Kurama ends up going wide here. Tred managed to survive the onslaught, but now a cage fight draw from Sunday, but it's actually the Malga who was trapped in there with his opponents, not able to live. Now with that tank missing here, you're seeing this offense, they're surging forward here. They have another overclock from Tricky, though, trying to bail them out, but it's in the spawn room. Captain Fresh had the sound barrier to keep everybody alive here. You're on Rhine just to try to stay on the card as long as you can. You hold that shield. Winston just tases through it. Does not care. Kurama's removed from the fight, and it's just the defenders trying desperately to turn an impossible tide here. Tricky's removed. Rod's gone. There's no Kiriko in sight, and finishing with time in the bank is Tred Gaming.
That they are. And I gotta say there, Megalass, I love the idea from Tred Gaming, realizing that you can just play for damage onto Tred. You can just play to farm support ults and just rip them both. And because Kitsune Rush and a spot like this is always great at taking space, then Everfrost Esports have to either give up the space and not be able to contest the payload, or just force themselves into a trickle fight, one that eventually Tred Gaming are going to win out. That's exactly what we see. I was beat Kitsune Rush from the high ground because they have, at that point, already established control of said high grounds. And 43 seconds on the time bank. I mean, nothing to write home about, but it's very, very comfortable for Tred as well. So Everfrost Esports is going to have to complete the map to be in contention still, else we will be knowing who our grand finalists are. Extra innings still on the horizon, and it's a timeline that definitely could be eclipsed if I am Everfrost Esports. I gotta say, Sonne does not look comfortable right now on this tank role. I mean, swapping between, it feels like every hero in the book. We've seen what from him? Roadhog, Winston, Reinhardt, Malga, like... Again, that doesn't smack of confidence for me, and I've got to say the Winston play I have been seeing out of them hasn't been inspirational. In particular, his jump targets and his bubbles, I'm not really in love with. I think Tred's been finding a lot more value, even though the primals maybe haven't been up to pat, so hopefully Sonic can focus up a little bit, just sort out whatever is causing him to swap tanks so often, and we can see Everfrost Esports again make it close.
Yeah, and really it's going to come down to that tank roll to really make sure these dives are initiated properly and they can be executed on, as now we are here for Everfrost attack. Tred Gaming, they're set up mainly on top of Big Earl's gas station right there, just being able to free fire Gucci right now, doing all of the damage in the world, and you're seeing a bit of a forward hold from Tred. Now the monkey jumping forward here, attempting to trade backlines, but a beautiful boop from Captain Prash will stop Sone for the time being here. Now going in for the second time, but this Winston dropped incredibly low, forces the cleanse out from Risu here, and actually Risu will able to find one onto Gucci almost out of nowhere. Those kunai can do so much damage, so already short-handed, lacking a lot of damage is the defense here. SXJ manages to trade it onto Tricky, not before the rest of Everfrost is able to find their picks, though, getting back and forth here. Sure, you lose Sone late in the fight, but this should be Everfrost getting a good push.
Oh, and Simon's going to stagger himself. He's got to run for his life. Yet Trace is able to escape. That recoil though gave me the heebie bloody jeebies, and Everfrost Esports get that payload close, but it will be a very good recontest here for Tred Gaming.
Yep, and now we're just both Winston's tasing each other on this high ground. Once again, Sone has to jump out, feeling the pressure from SXJ, who now has a pulse bomb online and throws it in. Doesn't manage to connect onto anybody just yet here. The Primal Rage already forced out from Tred. Will manage to find one onto Tricky here. Making it 2 for the Primal here. Now with it's all Tred right now, all the time. It wasn't Ajax. Wait, Rod did have Ajax in the middle of that. I didn't even realize the sound barrier was popped. My goodness.
And Sona's popped the Primal Rage. It's like 2v4. I don't see what he can kill. The answer is going to be nothing. The cleanse a smidge too late. And the cleanup is going to be here in just a couple seconds. I mean, we criticized Tred's ability to Primal Rage, and he's just absolutely doing it backwards now. Crash, again, a beat that maybe they didn't need, but considering the Ajax, it just seems celebratory more than anything else.
Yeah, but I mean, now Everfrost, they're trying to find advantage off of this. They managed to kill Captain Prash even after wasting a sound barrier, and now with SXJ missing from the fight, the Kitsune Rush is giving Everfrost the confidence to walk forward here. Tekuno now popping this Kitsune Rush, trying to help everybody stay alive here, but there's only so few meters left to give. They're touching at the last possible second. Tricky's going to invest the overclock to make sure this point doesn't get recontested, and Everfrost will be moving on to point B.
That they will. Time bank a little bit less than what their opponents had to play with, but it's still pretty comfortable for them. In terms of positioning, I mean, getting these staggers is going to be brutal for it. So again, we're going to see Everfrost very likely play for the choke in much the same way we saw Tred do. That being said, not having the ultimates to really stuff it means that it won't be nearly as brutal. If I'm Tred, on the flip side of things, the name of the game is getting Gucci onto some sort of strong space, be it the top of the saloon or be it on a wide angle on the more gas station type of area. That is what you need to do to find value from that ultimate.
Yeah, and it's going to be difficult for sure here, but it is a path to victory nonetheless. It's going to be the overclock popped incredibly early here, thrown into Sone's face, and that Winston just doesn't have the Primal Rage, doesn't have the sustained power, but all that focus fire onto Gucci will end up netting them the kill, but not before the rest of Tred Gaming goes to work, removes the rest of the team from the equation, and Kurama just has to head back to spawn a lone soldier.
3 minutes now on the clock, so about 4 fights, I'd say, for Everfrost Esports, see if they can do it quickly or not. I mean, they're super close to the Primal, but if I'm Everfrost, I'm almost thinking about just tanking damage onto my Winston, playing for my background ults, and trying to overcome Tred Gaming with the power. Tred might die.
Yeah, Tred incredibly low at the hands of the Pulse Bomb here. Kurama comes back in to finish it up, and now Sone investing the Primal Rage, able to take Tekuno out of the fight, and Everfrost Esports, it's all them in the kill feed right now as they're heading towards the end of point B.
That they are. I mean, Huda tries to get the healing there, but the Ofuda just traveled too slowly and didn't want to TP or cleanse for, you know, this threat of the pressure that Sone could come through at any time, and because of that, Everfrost Esports, I mean, they're close to getting a cap.
Yeah, and so it's just Tracer contest coming. SXJ already had that recall forced out here, so now the rest of Tred Gaming is here to deliver the sound barrier first out from Rod FD, mirrored by Captain Prash on the other side. Now it is the Kitsune Rush from Risu here, is the only one online, but the damage is connecting for Tred right now. They were able to find 2 picks already. They traded out for Gucci. Cleanse is only going to keep Risu alive for so much longer before Tred invests that Primal Rage, takes out Kurama, and the defense will hold.
At least for now. I mean, a minute and 30, it feels like every tool has been used in trying to make that battle work for Everfrost Esports. That Casino Rush is going to be one that they're going to be wanting back. Not a terrible decision from what Racio had to know, but HP Trade was very firmly in the favor of TredGamingEsports. That's what it was able to eventually get them their W. Now Takuno has a road, now unanswered. And now getting into these low time scenarios, it's all Everfrost can do to try and force that tool out.
Sone already missing from the fight here at the hands of the Kitsune Rush. There's just too much damage. And now it is just another fight win here for Tred Gaming. We're dipping below a minute. But that's a good pick from Tricky to start this one. But I'm sure that LittleJoe will get that.
And they got one of the ultimates out of Tred Gaming in relatively okay time. This is about as good a scenario as Everfrost Esports could have asked for. Now they got their own overclock to take the space.
Yep, but the overclocks are being mirrored, both shooting into Winston bubbles right now for the time being here, trying to see if these railguns can connect onto any crucial targets. It seems like neither Sojourn's going to come up with their pound of flesh for this day here, but Sone dropping incredibly low again. This Winston has to live. You can't die now. You're running out of time. You're running out of chances. Gucci removes Kurama from the fight, and that could spell the beginning of the end here. Everfrost Esports, they're choosing to keep this engage going. Their time bank dwindling. They have to find some options. Sone couldn't pop the primal in time here. Less than 10 seconds left before it's all said and done. The Kitsune Rush thrown out. There's going to have to be a touch. Rod FD can't make it. The Tracer puts the cart, able to trigger the overtime, but short-handed. Everfrost Esports, they're not going to be able to get anybody else there. And the reverse sweep is thwarted. Tred Gaming, they get their rematch in the grand finals. Their date with destiny against Pot Friend.
Tred Gaming Esports take the full run of things, I'll put it that way. Every map required for them to close it out, and 2 maps given away, be it for content, be it because of nerves. I mean, it takes them a hot second. Another replay here, this time of Tred's Primal Rage. Lovely double kill, a huge factor in getting them the cap there. I mean, I gotta say, it just seemed like Tred was so much more comfortable on this Winston comp, and Tred himself so much more comfortable on the Winston, just a huge difference maker. The round matchup, I mean, it seems to have kind of consolidated itself into almost 50-50 on those last couple maps, but once it actually came down to the Winston, then Tred was just on top.
Yeah, Tred had that extra level of adaptability needed in order to, be able to play the Winston at this high level here. And, full credit to Everfrost. What an amazing season from them. 3rd place overall. I mean, pat yourselves on the back. You went toe-to-toe with some of these big dogs, but like you said, Tred Gaming, I mean, this team, they just, on another level, their adaptation, their coordination, despite, not necessarily taking it as seriously, just shows how good of players these really are. And I mean, I just want to highlight it. They made the lower bracket run. They started round 1 there, and they crawled their way all the way back to the grand final now.
Yeah, and I mean, you lose in round 1 to a team like Pot Friends. It always says nothing about your skill, right? I mean, it's just Pot Friends. It's unlucky. So to make it all the way through their lower finals, I think it does. It's a huge testament, firstly, to Tred Gaming's ability to play under pressure, and also just their skill overall. So they made it to the rematch. It's Pot Friend versus Tred Gaming Esports in our EMEA PC Open Tier Finals, and I gotta say, that is a match I am not missing for the world.
I was gonna say, I'm more than ready to watch that match whenever it comes up at some point this weekend. But in terms of matches for the day, we are done here. Only 2 grand finals left before CGL 13 is done. And I mean, it's just been such an amazing season here, getting to see all of these talented squads, everybody pulling up, playing their hearts out, and just also, making great friends. Spectrion, never got to talk to you before CGL. Now, I'm honored that we share this EU connection of loving this great Overwatch. It's going to be great from here on out.
Absolutely. I mean, again, I'm just so excited for this final. I mean, I think I got to cast, actually, the last matchup between Pot Friend and Tred Gaming, and it was fantastic. Again, there's some extra history there, being the Epiclan 41 matchup that went to 6 maps. Hopefully this same map can go as far as possible. I can't wait. But again, that's going to have to wait for a little while. I think it's kind of an everything for us. So, I mean, I've had a fantastic time casting here at Megalass. Hope you have too. We've had Bailey and Hippy, who've been behind the scenes, as well as, I believe, a couple others. So Mara and Miblizzard have been our OBSs as well. And I gotta say, I'm EP, so I'm gonna go bed now. So from everyone behind the scenes and in front of them, choose.